You're watching the ACC Network Extra on ESPN. Welcome to Clemson, the beautiful Clemson Indoor Track and Field Complex, where for the next 2 days, all 15 conference schools have brought their best, all searching for individual and ACC glory. Welcome to the 2018 ACC Indoor Track and Field Championships. A pleasant good afternoon. Sean Kinney alongside Olympic gold medalist Dan O'Brien. David Mitchell with us. Hannah Yates is trackside. Dan, let's start with you. The big picture on the men's side. Virginia Tech won the title last year. They have a lot of depth. We both feel they have the firepower to defend the title.
Well, they certainly do. You know, it's tough to go against the defending champion because they have so much balance. When you think historically about this conference, only 3 teams have won this indoor title since 2002, and that's Syracuse, Virginia Tech, and Florida State. Not sure Syracuse has the balance, but I think Florida State does.
On the women's side, Miami has won the last 2 indoor titles, so truly they have been the queens of the conference, but it is a wide-open field here in 2018.
Well, it really is, and I know a lot of coaches are pretty happy about that. No runaway champion. It's going to be a big ask for Miami to repeat, but, you know, just walking in here from the parking lot, you hear from the coaches, like, if this goes right, our team could get some unexpected points and win this title, but I like Virginia Tech on the women's side as well.
David, let's talk the distance, and Rachel Pokraski with Virginia Tech set the tone yesterday. The record-setting DMR gold for the Hokies. It's just the cusp of what she could do this weekend. Could be a very special weekend for the junior.
She's really on a roll this season. She has gotten her first ACC gold medal with that DMR. She was very happy with that. She's in the top 6 in the NCAA at 800 and the mile. She's going to focus on the 800 here.
On the men's side, nobody's been more dominant than Justin Knight with Syracuse. Amazingly, he's looking for his 9th and 10th ACC titles. He's only a junior.
He was the NCAA cross-country champion this fall, and now he comes in and has not missed a beat in the indoor season. He comes in ranked number 1 at 3K, number 2 at 5K. Those are the 2 events we'll see him in here this weekend.
So much drama all over the place. Let's go to the field events where they started earlier this afternoon with the men's high jump.
It was a couple of Louisville Cardinals that wanted to go out the indoor season like they'd been ranked all season long. Javen Reeves, a senior, as well as Jaron Allen, he also a senior. They wanted to finish in the 1-2 ranking that they've been ranked in the conference so far. There you get a look at Jaron Allen. He was clear through 2:18, but so was this man, Matthew Berzer from Notre Dame. He came clear at 2:18, so that made 3 guys all over 7.1 3/4. Here on the second attempt at 2 meters 21, your conference leader, Javen Reeves, clears 2 meters 21, 7 feet 3 for the win. There's your final standings. Javen Reeves, 2:21, Matthew Berzer, 2:18, and Jaron Allen comes in third with also a 2:18 jump. Hannah Yates was trackside, and she caught up with our winner.
Thanks, Dan. Javen, last year at the 2017 ACC Championships, you came up short in 2nd place in the men's high jump, but were able to bounce back this year, winning it with a final mark of 2 meters 21. How important was it for you to come back and take first place?
It was very important because I've always come up short these past 4 years that I've been here, and to be able to finally take it home and to take it home with 2:21 where I missed last year, that would have potentially won me the meet last year. So it feels great. I finally did it.
What did you do differently this season to train for this event to get first place?
Well, I changed my routine. I do everything the same this year. Last year I was kind of going through some things, but I changed my routine. I'm doing the same things every meet. So we're preparing. The preparation's good, and you saw what happened, and we came through.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Louisville off to a strong start. We'll hit the running events, the 400 prelims coming up from the Clemson Indoor Track and Field Complex. Day 2 at the 2018 Indoor Track and Field Championships. A good look inside the Clemson Indoor Track and Field facility. Louisville off to a strong start on the men's side. Virginia Tech had a great day yesterday in the DMR, but it's been the Cardinals in the field events that have allowed them to jump to the top, Dan.
Well, this is certainly what we thought Louisville was going to be able to do, and that was to score well in the men's high jump and the heptathlon. You get a heptathlon winner, Joe Delgado. Boy, that's 10 quick points to start this meet off. Exciting stuff last night in that distance medley relay. Virginia Tech had their had all those Hokies in one spot. But I'll tell you, it was also exciting last night for Clemson to place high in that DMR from the slow heat. This place was really rocking.
Virginia Tech's DMR setting the new Clemson indoor track record yesterday, and the Hokies, as you take a look at the chase for glory, sitting in that number 2 spot, 14 points behind Louisville. It's early, just 3 events scored of the 17.
Yeah, really a long ways to go. You see Florida State just lying in the weeds there. We'll get some field events, we'll get some sprints, we'll get some more points on there up there for Louisville. But no, this is certainly what you kind of expect early on. Maybe a little bit surprising as we come into this meet. Some of the strength that's missing is with the Virginia Cavaliers. They're a different team this year.
And then, David, when we turn our attention toward the women, again, it's Louisville leading the pack with their field event performance. Virginia Tech, a carbon copy of the men. They win the DMR yesterday.
That DMR was terrific for the women, just as Dan said it was for the men. Virginia Tech coming from behind after leading for a good portion. Sarah Edwards, the ACC steeplechase champ, dropped down a 4:34 anchor, almost 8 seconds faster than she's ever run at that distance to pull ahead of Clemson and the defending champs Notre Dame. So that puts them in a tie for 3rd with Miami, but it is Louisville out in front, 24, and North Carolina not doing anything in terms of a big splash, but very steadily scoring so far in the early going.
Very early on in the activities, and that DMR sweep yesterday by Virginia Tech, just to put it into perspective, it was the first time since 2004 that both the men and the women won the event in the same year. It's only happened 4 times in ACC history. Florida State did it last in 2004. We turn our attention to the women's 400 meters, top 8, and there will be 8 heats. And Dan, what's interesting, the top 8 advancing by time. We were spoiled last year with the great Shaquima Wembley of Miami.
Well, we certainly were, and that Miami team is just going to look differently without her. Brittany Ellis also down, so there goes somebody who we thought could take the place of Shaquima Wembley. But very interesting scenario here. Everybody's got to run hard. Everybody's really got to run hard just based on getting in on time. So the later heats are going to have an advantage. There we get a look at Maddie Price. This is the 2nd fastest Duke runner in history. She ran 53.85 at last year's champs to finish 8th, but when you look at the Duke's record books, her name is peppered all over that place.
Some good sprinters this year for Duke. Price will be in lane 3. Anna Runia from Miami, lane 4. Sydney Deli, the freshman from Wake Forest, in lane 5. And then outside is another youngster from Syracuse, Alexis Harper.
Well, Anna Runia from Miami there, she was an outdoor champion in the 400-meter hurdles and only took up that event last season. So I love it when the 400-meter hurdlers, and you're going to hear me say that a few times over the next couple days, they come down and they run this open. You don't got a hurdle in front of you, Sean. You can run hard and fast.
Runia from the Netherlands actually sealed the team title last year with the 4x4 relay in this indoor venue last year at Notre Dame. 3rd championship for the Canes in that 4x4 in the last 4 years.
This facility has been getting some big 400 times in the last 2 years since they put in this bank track. Shaquima Wembley does have the facility record at 51.53 from last year.
This bank track established here at Clemson in 2016, and as David mentioned, we saw some records fall yesterday. We could be in line to see more throughout the next 48 hours.
There have been some historic performances here in a number of different events. We look forward to seeing what all these great athletes can do now that they're here together.
Gun is up. Heat number 1 of the women's 400 prelim.
Well, as they stand them up, these athletes will run 2 turns in lanes, and then they will be able to break to the pole, and you'll see a lot of athletes really go out hard to get into first position because it's very difficult to pass on a bank track. This is a gently bank track, not quite the track you see at the University or University of Arkansas or where the NCAA championships, Texas A&M, are happening. But it's very difficult to pass on these turns, and a lot of fighting, a lot of contact we'll see in some of these shorter sprint races.
See the young freshman Sydney Deli readjusting her starting block. I'm sure some nerves. First ACC indoor championship. We have a number of talented freshmen in the conference this year. Deli, a youngster. Harper to her right also a freshman for Syracuse.
Virginia Tech coaches commenting after last night's distance medley relay that they were impressed by the poise of their young women in that race because this place was so loud.
Heat number 1 underway in the 400 prelim. Price in the inside lane. Fastest seated time in this first heat. Strong stride by the veteran senior Madeline Price.
Wow, she really went out hard in that first 125 meters. She wants to lead. You can see that's perfectly clear. God, big, strong runner, though.
As expected in the first 200, it's the top two, Price and Runia, creating some separation. And now let's see if the Miami junior can track her down.
When you got to remember, these athletes are running for time. You're just not trying to win your heat, and that's the biggest difference. I know a lot of these athletes haven't had to go through that type of qualifying process, so you got to leave it out there in the prelims.
A former Dutch junior national champion trying to make a move on the outside, but too strong is Madeline Price, and she will cross the line. Price followed by Runia in heat number 1, 54.12 the time for Madeline Price. Runia clocks in at 54.44.
Well, it always sucks to go first. To be the first ones out there and not really have a standard. You don't know what you're running after. You know, you're trying to win your heat. You're trying to run the best that you can, but man, it's tough, especially when you know I got 6 other heats behind me. I could win my heat and not make the final.
Duke of Miami go 1-2 in heat number 1. Price, the senior, 54.12. Runia from Miami goes 54.44.
But you're right, Dan. They have set the standard now. Those two, that's the standard to beat. And I think it's very likely out of these 8 heats for one of the winners, at least one, not to make it the final.
Heat number 2, senior from Pitt, Desiree Garland, out of Woodland Hills High School. Second year at Pitt, started her career with Akron, spent a year with the Zips scoring points in the MAC championship, and now ready to score some points again in 2018 for the Panthers.
Well, it's interesting as well. You look at the list here for 400 meters, and you see a few Pitt Panthers in there, but they're better as a team than they are as individuals. They come in here with the number 1 4x4 team, but when you get a good relay team like that, you want somebody to break out. You want to get a couple of your athletes into the finals. It always feels a little bit better. It feels like your team is a little bit stronger when you get those athletes into the final than not making the final and resting up for the 4x4 at the end of the year. But she's having a great year so far, shown significant improvement. She had her big run at the Mayo Invitational earlier this year.
Johanna Selly in lane 5 with Boston College's senior. She's been a steady contributor for the Eagles through the years, making her 4th appearance at the ACC indoors out of Bedford, New Jersey. Keisha Warner, the sophomore from Clemson. Gun up and we're underway. Heat number 2 in the 400 prelims. On the outside for the Tar Heels is McKinley McNeil. You have Selby in lane 5, Warner of Clemson lane 4, Garland making her move from Pitt in lane 3.
It's noteworthy to notice that the top 2 from that first heat both ran their season best time.
Cutting inside is McNeil from North Carolina, the young sophomore, right now chasing Garland. McNeil out of Winston-Salem in that number 2 spot. Selly of Boston College 3rd, Warner sitting 4th. Desiree Garland of Pitt. McKinley McNeil of North Carolina as they hit the final stretch. McNeil pushing hard, but the smooth stroke of Desiree Garland, and it will be Garland crossing the line, 53.74.
Well, that's a good run for Desiree. Wow, 53.74, and we talk a personal best. Wow, we're seeing seasonal best, and we saw that earlier in the day in some of the multi events. Even last night, athletes are peaking at the right time. You come here to the championships, you want your best performances, but when you step into a facility like this and you look around, and it feels as good as Clemson does, you know you're going to run well.
Season best for Garland at 53.74. That's the top time after the first two heats. McNeil sitting second with that 54.19. Warner third of Clemson. Selly of BC clocks in fourth. Let's check in with our fourth partner in today's broadcast. A big hello to Hannah Yates, standing by with the champion in the field events.
I am with Anna Kiefer, the winner of the women's long jump event today. Anna, it is your first ACC Indoor Championship event. You're a true freshman. How has this experience been for you so far?
It's been amazing to come in and be able to, contribute to the team and just be out here and experience this. I'm really excited about my performance, and I'm just excited to see how outdoor is going to go.
You PR'd in the event. You were telling me you're from Minnesota. You haven't had that much experience in indoor track and field. How did you prepare for this?
Well, I feel like indoor and outdoor, I haven't had a lot of experience with indoor, but I didn't really think any different of it. I'm going to come out here, I'm going to get my outdoor PR indoor, and that's what happened. So, yeah.
What was the biggest challenge that you had to overcome in this event?
I think definitely just mental toughness. It's hard to, each jump, anyone could pop one. So you got to keep your game face on, and you got to stay like that the whole way through. So
thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
The 2017 Minnesota Gatorade Track Athlete of the Year, winning the long jump for North Carolina. Heat number 3 in the 400, and breaking is Olivia James of Clemson, the senior for the Tigers, leading the way. Anna Jefferson of Virginia in that number 2 spot. Notre Dame senior Peyton Miller and Julia Barron of Boston College.
Well, this is certainly no surprise. Olivia James, she holds the number 2 all-time Clemson mark in this event, and she broke early from the outside. We saw some athletes breaking early on the inside, getting the edge, but she runs a very good race from an outside start position, so we're able to see these athletes run fast from different positions on the track here so far today.
A late push by Jefferson, not enough. It's Olivia James who took part in the DMR last night for Clemson. She comes across the line, 53.25.
Well, that's a tough ask to run last night and again today, and then, we're definitely going to see her again tomorrow as well. So you got to pick your athletes. When you know you're going to run back-to-back days, you got to pick the right athletes that are able to do that.
So it is the fastest time, Olivia James, so far through the first 3 heats, 53.25. That puts Garland from Pitt in that number 2 spot at 53.74.
And Maddie Price, who had that season best in the first heat, she's bumped down to 4th, and Anna Runia as well with a personal best. She's bumped down to 6th, and we still have a long ways to go in this 400 meters.
Anna Jefferson there from Virginia may have snuck her way in. That was a great performance for the sophomore.
Jordan Shedd, the senior from St. Charles, Illinois. St. Charles East, first-team All-American 2 years ago in the outdoor 4x4 for the Irish. Been a crucial part to Notre Dame's success since her arrival back in 2014. She's been productive this year. She set a new Notre Dame school record in the 600 meters, breaking her old mark that she had established last year.
Well, she was 10th last year, and she certainly has the ability to place higher, but she won the Mayo invite. We'll talk about some different meets that we've seen this indoor season, the Tiger Paw, the Mayo, a couple of those meets, the Larry, I can't pronounce his name, but we'll get it figured out. But there's been some great meets this indoor season leading up to that a lot of these athletes have had good performances in.
Tight pack as they enter the far turn. Barta Zawick of Notre Dame, Williams of Clemson, Shedd of Notre Dame, and then Alicia Bush with some inside speed for Virginia Tech. It will be Shedd leading the way in the first 200, followed by Bush for the Hokies. Jordan Shedd, the senior for the Fighting Irish. Or Alicia Bush, the young sophomore. Good 3 to 4 inch difference as you look at those two making their way around the track as far as height goes. And into the final corner we go. Shedd with those long strides. Bush chopping her way closer, but it will be Notre Dame across the line. The Irish in a time of 54.28.
Well, this is definitely changing the way that some of these athletes, the qualification process here is changing the way that some of these athletes are running. They're really going at it hard from the start in the last couple of heats. We've seen those leaders really not be able to bring it home as strong as they normally would. So, a little bit different strategy, and I expected Jordan to see a 53 on the front of that run, and only 54.28. That might not be good enough to get into the finals.
Do you like the top 8 advancing by time in the preliminary set?
As a coach, I'd say no. As a fan, it's like, hey, this is pretty exciting. We're going to see some good racing. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't allow your better athletes to get out front early and then back off and just advance by winning the heat. You need to run hard. Everybody from the top ranked to the 20th ranked has a chance just based on that prelim.
You're looking at the athlete who had the fastest seed time coming into this 400 meters, and that is Syracuse junior Khadijah Sellers. Sellers, the fastest 400 time in the ACC. She's a returning all-ACC performer. Took 3rd last year in the indoors, 14th in the 200 meters, took 6th in the outdoor 400. Caldwell of Florida State inside Sellers. Sierra Dunston, North Carolina, lane 5. Asia Smith, the sophomore from Louisville, on the outside.
Well, she was in a really great start position. She's out there in lane 4, 6-lane track. She used the distance between herself and the athletes in 5 and 6 to create some space for herself, pass on the inside, put herself in a position to run well. She's a junior. She's got great experience, and watch her just hold off this field.
A senior from Powder Springs, Georgia, Sierra Dunston making a move, and that's going to push Sellers a little bit. Final turn, Dunston not going away. Sellers on the inside for Syracuse. Dunston trying to push her. Sellers will have enough kick, and it will be Sellers across the line. 53.93, the winning time. Sierra Dunston really solid at 54.05.
Well, both those athletes, I think, really benefited from each other. I think Khadijah Sellers down the home straight as she finishes and crosses the line. I think she could have backed off. She could have ran up over 54 seconds, but just the fact that Sierra Dunston was there, was bearing down on her, I think really made a difference in her time in her running under 54 flat.
Heat number 5, as expected, Sellers 53.93. Solid showing by Dunston for North Carolina. Caldwell and Smith round out the 5th heat.
Well, I feel bad for the athletes that have already competed. They're cooling down right now, or they're sitting on the sidelines and they're just waiting. So there's athletes that are in 6th, 7th, 8th position, just wondering, who's going to get into these finals?
That cutoff time right now is Shed of Notre Dame at 54.28. So that's the time to keep in mind as we move into the 6th heat. Quadacia Newkirk, the senior from Philadelphia, her 2nd year with Pitt. Former JUCO national champion at New Mexico Junior College. Coach Alonzo Webb told us last year he's never had anyone transfer in with the pedigree of Newkirk. Tremendous speed and talent.
And she's really improved over the last year. 24th at these championships last year. Ran 56.99, a 2-second improvement coming into this championship meet.
Sarah Johnson of Wake Forest, lane 5. Mackenzie Kerr, the junior from Duke. And Dominique Hall, the yellow jacket of Georgia Tech. At the break, clearly it's Newkirk in control. 24-8-3 split for Quadacia Newkirk.
That's actually a little bit slower than some of our previous winners. They've been in the mid-24s. That being alone like this, Dan, might actually be a disadvantage to her out in front.
Well, she looks like she's holding her stride together very well, but she is all alone. You're totally right, Dave, and it could be a disadvantage.
Not being pushed at all here is Newkirk. Duke making a surge. Mackenzie Kerr. And look at Kerr come flying at the end as they cross the line. Oh, what a finish by Kerr. Talked about the Duke sprinters and showing some closing speed, and it is Kerr who crosses the line first, 54.88. Newkirk with a 54.94.
Well, here in the 400 meters, it's not always about who runs the fastest, it's who slows down the least. And there you see Mackenzie Kerr on the outside. She just kept driving. She had good momentum. And she just kept driving on the outside. And so many athletes try to stay in that first and second lane. You can win these races from the outside lanes. You just got to keep your tempo and your pace together.
Late charge by Kerr, 54.88. Right now, that is not good enough to advance into the finals. Newkirk at 54.94. It's a three-person heat. Heat number 7 of 8, Miami's Samantha Gonzalez. Very good hurdler. She's been a part of the 4x4 that finished second at the Power 5 Invitational earlier this year. And it's funny, guys, you look at some of these runners. She turned in her season best time last time out right here at the Tiger Paw. Gonzalez for Miami.
I like her versatility. She can run 60-meter hurdles. She can run 400-meter hurdles. She can run the 2. She can run the 4. She can give you a leg on the 4x4 and run on the DMR. But, Amy Deem is moving some parts around. Since Shakima Wembley left, she's moving some parts around. No Brittany Ellis. How do you score some points? How do you get up into those top 3 without some of your biggest stars?
Shaquania Dorsett of Florida State rebounded last year after a disappointment of missing out on an Olympic trip in 2016 due to an injury. Freeport, Bahamas. Dorsett right now sitting 3rd behind Henderson and Gonzalez.
But Dan pointed out earlier in our conversations as we got ready, all of the ACC teams at one time or another visited this track. Gonzalez getting her best time here before. We'll see how it helps her now.
Not going to be good enough as she crosses the line, 54.58. That look shows it all. She knows she just missed it. So Gonzalez in at 54.58. Henderson second, followed by Florida State. And Jordan Shedd of Notre Dame breathes a little bit easier in that number 8 spot.
I don't know how much easier. She and McKinley McNeil, the 7th and 8th position. I think Maddie Price probably can breathe easy and know that she's into the finals. A couple of young ladies really have to run fast here to knock out that 7th and 8th transfer position right now.
Courtney Blandon getting her position, a returning first-team All-ACC performer, finished 3rd in the 200 last year. She's run this track twice already this season, the Clemson Invite and the Tiger Paw.
Well, and I think all the coaches really understand the importance of coming to the place where you're having your championships. You don't want your kids coming into an unseen place for the very first time at a conference championship. Just the comfortability. How far is it from the hotel to the track? Where do we warm up, and how do we check in? And the process that you go through, the more familiar that you can get with it, the more comfortable you'll be here and able to compete at your highest level.
Talk about the versatility with Virginia. Alana Herron in lane 5, the junior. She's mainly a hurdler. She's been a participant in the pentathlon the last couple of years. The Virginia White. Clemson represented with Kendra Clark. Blandon for the Hokies with the lead. Cheyenne Trigg of Syracuse 2, but here comes Clark from the outside, and at the turn it will be Blandon followed by Clark. Virginia Tech and Clemson, and here's Kendra Clark making the pass on the outside.
Well, Kendra Clark knows she's got to run a fast time. She's putting in the work there, and that's in that third 100. It's the toughest one, but she knows just a heat win's not going to do it for her. She needs to push it and get a good time.
Let's see if Blandon has a push, but right now it's Clark. And Clark of Clemson digging hard toward the line, and she's in. 53.73 the time for Kendra Clark. Blandon with a 54.31.
Well, about 250 meters in, Kendra Clark, you can see her. She glances up at the clock and just says, you know what, I got to move here. That was not a fast enough first 200. I need to push it all the way to the line. That last 200, she just dug deep. She's in great posture. She kept her turnover going. She used her arms to do it. Comes up with a seasonal best and gets into the finals.
Clemson has 2 finalists in the women's 400. We'll find out about the men. It's the preliminary round of the 400. The men getting ready to go. Coverage from Clemson continues. Welcome back inside the Clemson Indoor Track and Field Complex. Day number 2 of the 2018 Indoor Track and Field Championships, alongside Dan O'Brien, David Mitchell, Hannah Yates down trackside as we get set for the men's 400 prelims. It was a Clemson sweep a year ago, and 2 of the guys are back. Jeffrey Green, Cordell Lamb, Michael Cheeks has graduated, but the Tigers always strong in the 400. 1 of 10 heats. Heat number 1 underway. Zachary Zagel of Notre Dame, the junior. Kenny Selman of North Carolina in lane 3. Kyle Farrington of Florida State, lane 4. And then Josh Hall of Louisville, the senior, on the outside in lane 6.
Well, right to the early lead. There you see the 400-meter ACC champion, Kenny Selman. He's got a lot of experience. And, you know, like I mentioned, these 400-meter hurdlers, they get in on a flat track. This is great preparation for the outdoors as well. But Kenny knows how to run this indoor track very well. Good posture, good arm swing, good tempo right now.
Selman, a 3-time ACC champion, a North Carolina record holder with the lead. Farrington of Florida State second, but from start to finish, it is Selman of UNC across the line, 46.66. Shattering his best time coming in, which was a 47.19, so a real fast start in the men's 400.
Well, North Carolina, the Tar Heels, they're going to be a handful in that 4x4 relay. They posted the second fastest relay time in the conference. But that's just a great gutty run by Kenny Selman. He got a chance to see what was happening with the women. This is a time final. If you got to run it by yourself, you run it by yourself. But you got to go out hard. You got to really challenge it at the beginning if you want to run these. You want to run fast enough time. And 47 flat here on the men's is just not going to cut it.
Talked about the returning firepower for Clemson. Cordell Lamb, the senior, second fastest 200-meter time, second fastest 400-meter time this year for the Tigers. NCAA outdoor qualifier. This guy's a 5-time ACC champion, part of 3 straight 4x4 indoor titles for Clemson.
And what you may not know about Cordell Lamb is he can really sing. He sang the national anthem here for the Tiger Paw meet, and he lit the place up. So multi-talented young man.
Nice.
Might have to set him up for tomorrow. Kick off our festivities.
He can do it.
Well, when a team can sweep, you always get really excited. And last year, Sean, you and I saw that Clemson sweep, and we thought, there's no stopping the Clemson Tigers. They're going to win the title. But you got to score some points in some other areas. And Virginia Tech just did everything that they needed to last year. They did everything right that they needed to win that title.
Well, this time around, Dan, with 10 heats, it's mathematically impossible to have every heat winner in the top 8. So it's even a taller order than what the ladies faced.
My coach always used to say, run what you ran to get there. And if Cordell Lamb does that, 46.63, if he can run in the 46s, I think he can feel comfortable as these heats go on. I think 46.8, 46.9, if you're faster than that, you should feel good about getting into the final.
Carlos Coleman of Louisville on the outside. Lamb in lane 5. Max Herreras of Boston College, a young freshman. Excellent hurdler in high school in lane 4. Then Clemson's DeAndre Toomer, another freshman, in lane 3. Keep an eye on Lamb. And it is Cordell Lamb early with the lead. Coleman on the outside for Louisville.
Wow, Lamb just flew by Carlos Coleman on the outside. And I think Clemson has such an advantage running at home here. Coach said that they were sleeping in their own beds. He trusted everybody to be on their best behavior and let them stay at home. So that's a big advantage for the Clemson Tigers.
Coleman Trying to work his way around the outside of Lamb, but once Lamb felt that little contact, that brief contact, he turned it on. Pushing hard, though, is Coleman, and it will be Lamb first, followed by Coleman, but a solid effort from Carlos Coleman in his final ACC indoors, but, well, 47-4-0, Coleman and Lamb.
Well, this was really, I think, going to be disappointing for Lamb because he had great tempo. He was off to a good start. And about 100 meters from the line, he just backed off a little bit. Looked like he almost forgot that this was a timed final. It almost looked like he had to re-accelerate in the last 50 meters to try to win that heat.
So you see the 47-4-0, David, for Cordell Lamb. Does he feel he's in with that time, do you think?
No, I think Dan's right. It's probably the only safe time is going to be sub 47. Other than that, they're going to sit on the bubble for a while and maybe have that bubble burst. Toomer, the freshman there, with the best time for him by far, though, coming up in third. Rather unexpected, good performance for him.
Freshman speed for the Tigers, Deontay Tolbert. Last year at this time, he was running high school track, thrust into the spotlight of the ACC championships. The veteran of these four runners is on the outside with Henry DeLaws of Miami. Freeport, Bahamas, represented the Bahamas at the 2014 World Junior Championships. Will it be young speed or the veteran in heat number 3?
I think an answer to that question, Sean, the smart money is usually on the veterans on the men's side, especially in these sprints. That they just are physically developed and they have the experience with these indoor races of this magnitude.
Brandon Outlaw is the other runner, and he's representing Virginia. At the turn, it will be Miami with the lead with DeLaws, followed by Outlaw. And Tolbert for the Tigers.
And we see a little bit of the home track knowledge there. Tolbert knows better than to try to pass on the turn. He passed him on the straight, using this turn to slingshot him off and bring him home.
It's going to be Virginia's Brandon Outlaw in between the two of them, and it's Outlaw who crosses the line. 47-3-1 the time for Outlaw, who has a lot of football in his background. In fact, he debated long and hard whether to pursue college football or track. He decided to go the track route, and the Cavaliers, really needing a spark in the sprints, get one from the freshman here in the prelims.
Well, just when we're talking about the other two guys, the guy that we don't mention comes streaming in and wins that heat, but he just did a really good job of holding it together. You know, you see these guys really starting to fall apart in that last 100 meters. Most important thing is to hold your posture, continue your arm swing. Just don't drop your knees.
Second fastest qualifying time so far. It's Brandon Outlaw of Virginia.
He shaved almost a full second off of his entry time, too. So great performance. And to be able to steal that lead by passing on the inside, that's a great thing for him.
Isaiah Palmer. Talked about Kenny Selman earlier in North Carolina and their talent in the 400. Here's a guy coming out of Texas, Liberty High School, who has produced right away for the Tar Heels.
Well, you look at the Tar Heels, and you see somebody like C.O. Ways, graduate off. You need to replace him, and I think this is a great replacement. 47-14 this season as a freshman. At the Music City Challenge, I like the looks of Palmer, and as a freshman indoors, that's a pretty good time.
Edward Cheatham in lane 4 for Notre Dame. This is his first ACC Indoor Championship. Ben Jean of Georgia Tech, big football player, and Michael Saxon of Boston College.
Wow, what a start. What a start for Isaiah Palmer. He's really pushing it this first 150 meters. This is what I think more guys need to do here, is really push that 200. You know it's going to hurt.
21.84 on the FAT split, by far the fastest split today.
Palmer in control for North Carolina. Jean of Georgia Tech, a comfortable second. Cheatham and Saxon rounding out the 4, but right now it's Isaiah Palmer behind that strong opening 200. Here comes Jean for the Yellow Jackets, and it will be Ben Jean at the line, 47.40.
Jean's time, 47.40 as he closed on Palmer. We finished with a 47.51. Saxon in at 49.
Well, and just as I say that, I love the way that Isaiah Palmer got out. I said he really needed to push it, but man, he fell apart in that last 80 meters. Good job by Ben Jean, continuing to chase.
Well, what we're finding out early is you don't want to be in the lead that straightaway.
Wow.
Closing speed, Jean of Georgia Tech, 47.40. Third fastest time so far. Palmer at 47.51.
Well, you look at Cordell Lamb, who's in 5th position right now, 47.40. But as I look down the list here on some of these heats, of course we got Jeffrey Green coming up, but nobody's really run in the low 47s in the remainder of these heats. So, Cordell Lamb is crossing his fingers underneath the grandstand somewhere.
Florida State was able to keep some in-state talent home, and Calvin Golson, Miramar, Florida, part of our House High School program in Hollandale, back-to-back team championships. Good young speed for the Seminoles, and at the Open we talked about Florida State being very confident thanks to their sprinters and a guy we'll see a little bit later on, and Andre Ewers, and with the depth in these sprinting events, maybe enough push to get by the Hokies and knock them off.
Well, this is the one area that Florida State will struggle in just a little bit, and that's the middle, we call them the middle distances, the 400 meters and the 800 meters. So if this young man could get into the finals and get 1 point, 2 points, it would really mean a lot to Florida State's team title hopes.
Amari Devon, North Carolina, lane 3. It's North Carolina State's Abdur Raham Kelly, the redshirt junior, in lane 4. Racine of Syracuse in lane 5. Bunch running here, all 4 fairly tight. It will be Carolina with the lead. Devon, the junior, out of High Point, North Carolina, T. Wingate Andrews High School. Golson making the move for Florida State. Golson with the lead. Keep an eye on Raham Kelly as he works his way from that number 3 spot. But Galvin Golson will cross the line, 47.77. And that will not be a top 8 time for Florida State.
48.17 for Devon. Abdur Kelly at 48.19.
Well, the youngster Calvin Golson, he knows that he needs to make a pass on the straight. You don't really want to pass on the turn, but I like the way this tall kid looks. He really pushed it hard. Was only in second position at the 200-meter mark. But everybody was hurting in that last 60, 70 meters coming home. You could see it in their face. Everybody's straining really hard. But, we said it might not take, it's going to take better than 47, but the heats have dropped off after those first 3.
I mean, how surprised are we? We've had 1 sub-47 time so far.
Yeah, with the qualifying situation the way it is, knowing that they have to run for time, it is a little bit surprising right now. And Coleman and Lamb separated in 3rd and 4th right now by a matter of 1/1000th of a second, and that is going to be or actually they're 4 1,000ths, and Ben Jean a 1,000th ahead of Coleman. Somebody out of that group that was so close together might end up on the outside looking in, depending on how these heats go.
Saw that Georgia Tech runner, the Flying Hawaiian, grew up in Hawaii, went to Emory University, won a Division III outdoor 400-meter championship. Now with the Yellow Jackets, a 3-person heat number 6. Matthew Baker, Virginia Tech, Sam Krenbrink of North Carolina State. Peach on the outside for the Yellow Jackets. Here comes Matthew Baker. Good strong opening 200 by Baker, but it will be Peach trying to cut in, and he nearly cut off Baker. In fact, he did. He threw Baker off stride as Peach cut in aggressively and got that inside position.
Well, no yellow flag, so everything looks good now, but he really got a lot of momentum from that. He shot down from the top of the track, and he doesn't seem to have slowed down yet. We'll see if he can keep his arms going this last 50 meters.
Boy, it really slowed Baker down. Peach crosses the line at 47.18, so an impressive run for Daniel Peach for Georgia Tech.
47-21.
A longboarder in the finals of the men's 400 meters.
Baker, 49.81. Conway at 49.
Well, not much surfing in Georgia, that's for sure, but you see Daniel Peach on the outside there, just pushes it a little bit, goes right to the rail. You know, probably doesn't have the right of way there, but no contact was made. Definitely impeded the second place runner, but I didn't see any yellow flags, and we may not.
We may not. There were some officials down there that conferred after that. They're not necessarily the umpires with the flags. They may have been the higher level officials, so it's possible we'll hear something else, but that's just typical of indoor track. There's going to be more contact. There's going to be more rhythm changes and breaks in stride. We definitely see it in the 4x4 tomorrow.
There is the defending champion in this event, Jeffrey Green, the senior, 5-time ACC champion, 2 individual titles, 2-time defending ACC indoor title holder. And what do you think, guys? It's time for a sub 47 here. Don't you think this is the guy that could deliver?
Well, I would be very surprised if we didn't see a sub 47 here. And you know, we talk about how fun a couple of these indoor meets have been so far. The Tiger Paw Invitational on February 9th. This was Jeffrey Green's school record 400-meter run, 45.87. Took that record clear back from 1993, you say?
Yeah, Wesley Russell held that mark back in the 93 season, but now it belongs to Jeffrey Green. And what's going through a champion's mind? He's been sitting, watching. Now he saw his teammate Cordell Lamb turn in that 47.40, not Lamb-like. What goes through his mind as he gets set?
Nothing. You know what he's going to do? He's going to execute exactly what his coach told him to do 10 minutes ago. And he better.
Yeah, and that's why he's a champion.
Yes.
Jeffrey Green, Clemson, lane 3. Anthony Crandon of Louisville, lane 4. Gordon of Clemson, lane 5. And then Virginia with Alfred Shirley, a freshman from Chesapeake on the outside. You've watched Green a lot. What makes him so special?
Well, he seems to have an extra gear. He can accelerate whenever he wants to. Even 300 meters into the race, he seems to always have a little bit more energy, always have a little bit more fitness than everybody else.
Green will whip right by Shirley, and it is Jeffrey Green, the 2-time defending ACC indoor champion, with the lead.
He also set school records at the 500 meters and 600 meters on this track this year.
Green across the line. He's under 47. 46.97 the winning time. And Green, very calm and cool, moves into the finals tomorrow.
Well, we talked about the format on how everybody's getting through on time here. That might have been the only athlete who could run an easy round here and still get through. So, 47 flat, so 46.97 is an easy run for him considering he's a mid 45 second runner.
Shirley of Virginia second. Top time in these prelims still belonging to our very first heat, North Carolina's Kenny Selman. Heat number 8, Gregory Childs, the senior for Virginia Tech. NCAA qualifier in the 400 hurdles, placing 22nd. First team All-American in the indoor season last year, part of that distance medley silver medaling team. Spent his first 2 years with South Carolina. This is his second season in Blacksburg.
He has run under 47 seconds, just not this season. He broke the school indoor record 3 times last year in the 400 meters.
Miles Mingo of Duke, McKinley Brown of Miami. Looks like we're down to 2, so there will be no Mingo in this race. A 2-person heat with Childs and Brown. That's the psyche of an athlete when you're next to the only opponent, two-person event like this.
Well, this is tough. This is really tough on them to get it done all by yourself. This is where it takes that experience. You got to know your pace. You got to be able to look down at the clock and say, "Hey, I know exactly where I'm at." Be able to feel it. Maybe these two guys can get together. Maybe they can push each other a little bit. But it's tough out there.
Brown was a decorated hurler in the state of Miami at American Heritage High School, trying to play catch-up with Gregory Childs, and it's Childs looking at that clock, pushing hard, and he's across at 47.51.
47.50 officially. 48.20.
Official time clocked in at 47.50.
As we move to heat number 9, Montel Fagan of Pittsburgh. In 3.
Childs of Virginia Tech. Finley Brown of Miami, 48.20. And that time for Childs will not be good enough to move into the finals. So what's interesting, with 2 heats to go, you have last year's runner-up Cordell Lamb sweating it out in that number 7 spot. 47.40, 2 sub-47 times from Selman and Green.
And Kyle Farrington, the Seminole, in that 8th position, 47.50. But we've got 2 heats to go, and nobody in the next 2 heats has run faster than 47.6.
Pittsburgh's Lonzel Fegan, the freshman. A lot of eyes, anxious eyes on Duke graduate student Stephen Solomon. The Sydney, Australia native exploded onto the international track scene at the age of 19 when he won the 2012 Australian National Championship. He hit the Olympic standard. He made the Australian team, took part in the 2012 Olympic Games in London. He won his first heat, performed well in the semis, becoming the first Australian to reach the finals in the 400 meters in 24 years, placed 8th at the Olympic Games in a time of 45.14. Let's see what Solomon can do, who started his career at Stanford. Injuries derailed him after his first 2 years. Was given an extension by the NCAA, and now here he is today participating for the Blue Devils. And it will be Solomon with a clear lead after the opening 200.
Wow, I don't know what to say. He looks fantastic out there. Got to the break. And look at this tempo. Look at this rhythm.
He's entered at no time, so that means this is his first 400 of this indoor season, and he's tearing it up.
Looking like he's in 2012 form. Holy cow, 45.43. Welcome back to college track, Mr. Solomon.
Wow. He just had great posture, good tempo. He was just turning it over, rhythm, rhythm, rhythm. Didn't seem to slow down on that second lap.
Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Solomon's 45.44, a new ACC
That is it.
record and championship record.
ACC record and championship record.
This is how he looked in the first 150. He comes around with about 100 meters to go and just effortless. Wow, Duke, the Blue Devils have got to be thrilled.
He went to Stanford for 2 years. He was a 2-time All-American. He was part of the national championship Cardinal DMR team. And back in July, the NCAA granted an extension of athletic eligibility, and the Olympic Games finalist back in 2012 sets an ACC championship record in the prelims.
Well, there you see Coach Norm Ogilvie coming over. He's been sweating all day. His distance runners haven't really performed up to the level that he would like. He had a multi-event athlete do really well, but it's lovely. A coach gets so excited when there's a guy comes out and does something you just didn't quite expect. Surprises are great here in the sport of track and field.
Jack Strollo, Virginia Tech. Anthony Brooks, Georgia Tech. Brandon Thomas, Virginia Tech. 10th and final heat. Thomas on the outside. Sophomore from Richmond, Virginia. Took 6th at the USA Junior Outdoor Championships this past summer. Strollo on the inside. Brooks sandwiched between the two Hokies. First 200, it is Virginia Tech going 1-2. Time to beat. Cordell Lamb for Clemson sitting in that 8th spot with 47.40. See if
Virginia
Thomas
Tech
can get the job done.
Virginia Tech definitely wanting to get anybody into any final they can to score points because they're battling for the team title.
Here comes Georgia Tech on the outside, and it won't be good enough to get into the finals. 47.94 for Anthony Brooks. And this really sets up an intriguing finals race tomorrow in the 400 with Stephen Solomon trying to derail what has been a Clemson logjam through the years in this event.
Wow, you see Anthony Brooks come through the line there, 47.94. But when you look at the top of the list, Stephen Solomon at Duke, Kenny Selman, North Carolina, you're defending champion in 3rd position, and you're defending runner-up, 8th position going into the finals. But he did make the finals. I think Clemson can, Clemson coaches and those athletes can get their heads together tonight and do some things differently tomorrow in the finals.
Well, we started a little slow in the 400 meters, but boy, did we finish in a rush. Stephen Solomon, the closing meters as he sets an ACC championship record. He's healthy in 2018, ready to lead the Blue Devils tomorrow in the finals. Some of the top sprinters getting ready to showcase their talents. The women's 60-meter prelims. Go back to 2000. Tanya Carter with the record time, 7.15. It was established in that 2000 championship weekend. And a strong contingency of returning talent getting set to go in the women's 60. Florida State's young freshman headlining the pack. Katia Seymour, the freshman from the state of Florida, 4th fastest time in the 60 this year, 3rd fastest in the 200. She was a championship machine in high school.
Well, and when you talk about a kid winning a state championship in the state of Florida, that's tough because it's one of the best sprinting. It's one of the best sprinting states of all. So, when it says she won 4 individual Florida 2A state titles and 1 relay crown, that's quite an achievement.
Yeah, one of those championships, she posted the fastest all conditions 200 in the country, 22.89. Now in this 60 meters.
Her teammate Shauna Helps will be on the outside.
Benjamin.
At the start, and it is Seymour with the lead. Helps on the outside from Florida State. They cross the line and go up the bank, but a Florida State 1-2 unofficially as Seymour crosses 7.34 the winning time. Helps in that number 2 spot. Just 0.02 of a second behind him.
On the far left, it looked like Shauna Helps got the drop on the entire field. Then the freshman, Katia, takes over about midway through. We say you won't always win the 60 on the start, but you surely can lose it. So just need to be consistent. And as these athletes, there we get a look at the results, 7:34, 7:36. Winner from each heat, plus the next 3 fastest times. But these athletes are not guessing the gun. They're not trying to figure out when the officials are shooting the gun. They're reacting to it. See if we can get through all of these heats without a false start or any stand-ups.
Janine Williams of Georgia Tech, the number 3 runner. She continues her career year. Heat number 2, Tori Robinson for Clemson, the senior member of the NCAA qualifying 4x1 the last 2 years, returning All-American in that relay event. All ACC in the 100 meters. And Dan, what's the biggest difference when you compare the 60 to that 100 as far as what makes somebody a little bit more special in the shorter sprint like we're seeing here?
Well, I certainly think, the longer distance is a little bit more conditioning. But a lot of the same things apply. All the athletes you see here in the 60 are going to run the 100, outdoors. it's very rare that somebody it's a fantastic 60 meter and they're not a very good 100 meter runner. But there's more emphasis on the start. There's more emphasis on creating power and drive and getting into a good running position earlier in the 60 than in the 100.
And in the 100, there's a greater segment of potential for deceleration, like you had talked about before, Dan. And that factor is not as significant here in the 60.
Good Clemson speed with Robinson, Angelica Collins, and Renee Ricketts on the outside. Don't be surprised to see a trio of Tigers here. With the early lead, it's Robinson from lane 3, Ricketts in lane on the outside lane, gets in that number 2 spot. So Robinson wins 7.31 her time, and it is Ricketts from the outside crossing at 7.42. And as expected, it is a Clemson sweep with Robinson, Ricketts, and Collins.
And to the delight of this home crowd, certainly not a surprise. They run well together. This is certainly what we expect, and this is what the team needs.
Clemson orange in heat number 2 of the 60 meters. Robinson at 7.31. Seymour, Florida State, who won that first heat, now at 7.34. Remember, it is the 5 heat winners along with the next 3 fastest times that move into the finals tomorrow.
Well, and something we didn't quite explain either, compared to the 400s, you're only running 4 people at a time. All right, here on the flat, you can run 8 people in a preliminary race, while we're only running 4 in those 400s, and that's what makes the 400s and the 200s different. Is that you're not loading up those 8 or those all 8 of the 6 lanes, so you have to do it that way.
Brianna Duncan of North Carolina, Cambridge, Massachusetts, an 8-time Massachusetts state champion, Gatorade Track Athlete of the Year during her distinguished prep career. In fact, she was the first female to win 3 separate events at the Massachusetts State Championships in the same year. Exceptional long jumper. Can she advance in the 60 meters? Kennedy Dennis, a good-looking freshman from Virginia Tech in lane 7. Sharp of Notre Dame in 6. Eunice Boateng, Syracuse. Kethlyn Campbell, Victoria Parker, and Jayla Kirkland rounding out this 7-person heat. Brief early lead by Kirkland, the freshman in lane 1. Here comes the outside speed of Dennis. Duncan was in the middle of it as well, behind a fast closing 10 meters there. And it will be Kirkland of Florida State across the line, 7.31. So the true freshman from Birmingham, Alabama, Woodlawn High School. One of the most decorated prep sprinters to sign with Florida State, and she comes up clutch.
On the far right, there she is, Jayla Kirkland, your 2017 New Balance Indoor National 60-meter champion. A nice find for the Seminoles.
They've had a couple of nice finds when you look at Kirkland and Seymour, both from the state of Alabama. And both right now looking solid to move into the finals in the 60 meters.
And Duncan there with the fastest non-winning time, so she sits in solid position as well to be able to be a finalist for UNC.
North Carolina State's Gabrielle Cunningham, the outdoor school record holder for the Wolfpack in both the 100 and the 200 meters. Had a real busy summer. She was part of the 2017 Pan Am Junior Championships. Won the gold medal in the 4x1, running the opening leg. She was a bronze medalist in the 200. Inside there in the Miami green is Alfreda Steele, a young sophomore, Dade City, Florida. Just a pure young talent. She tore her ACL, missed all of last season with that injury, and is slowly, as you both know, getting that mind confidence back, that mental part coming off an injury like that. And has looked good here in the last couple of weeks for the Canes, and this is a must for Coach Deem of Miami.
Well, she ran a great time at the Tiger Paw Invitational, 7:33. See if she can repeat that here this weekend.
Slow start by Steele out of the gates. It's Cunningham of North Carolina State. Steele trying to make up some ground, but it will be from start to finish. Gabrielle Cunningham for the Wolfpack.
Well, North Carolina State, one of those teams that think if things go right, if they can score some points they didn't expect, if some other teams can fall back a little bit, they got a shot at the team title.
And that's Cunningham's second final now. She also qualified in the hurdle final, as did Janine Williams of Georgia Tech earlier. Williams not looking so strong here. In fact, she's out now at 9th. But Gabby Cunningham having quite a meet.
She does a great job of staying down and driving. Her head doesn't even come up for the first 20 or 25 meters. She continues to look at the track. Your posture and your body alignment will go where your head goes, and she does a good job of keeping her head down and her posture aligned with her power position. So good run for her.
It's the fourth fastest time so far in the 60 meters. Cunningham is in. She gets the automatic ticket to the finals with her first place finish. Sophomore Steele with that 7.43, not good enough to move into the championships tomorrow. Fifth and final heat. Virginia Tech freshman Caitlin Tate came in with a seed time of 7.40. Set her personal best 60-meter time at the Tiger Paw Invitational. She's a Georgia 100-meter state champion. Jalen Aminu of Pitt, lane 1. Michaela Butler and Notre Dame in lane 2. Christina Knott, the veteran from Miami. Keep an eye on her. Janelle Pate, Justice Richardson, and Rebecca Smith on the outside for the Tigers. Remember, Smith Clemson is a returning All-ACC performer in this event. At the start, speed from the inside from Miami's Christina Knott, but look at Rebecca Smith. Smith flies across the line. 7.31 the winning time for the Tiger, the young sophomore.
We see Caitlin Tate in the dark uniform in the middle there. She got a great start, but so did Rebecca Smith on the outside. She was your ACC indoor champion last year, Sean, and she looks to be in good form again.
So we're going to give you your finalists for the women's 16-meter dash.
7.31. A couple of Tigers share the top prelim time. Last year's indoor champion Rebecca Smith, along with Tori Robinson, both into the finals. See the fifth and final heat results. Tate of Virginia Tech at 7.38. She is the eighth and final qualifier in the finals. It's the men's turn when we return to Clemson. Coverage of the 2018 Indoor Track and Field Championships. We've seen one ACC championship record go by the wayside earlier today. Will we see number 2? Maybe. Certainly the talent in this field in the 60 meters, featuring Florida State and the Seminoles and their junior college transfer Andre Ewers, the junior with the nation's fastest time in the 60 this year, clocked at a 6.52. And this is the guy that could push Florida State past Virginia Tech as far as depth goes in these sprints, and what an addition for the Noles.
Well, 6.52, it's not only the number 1 ranked time in the country, it's ranked 17th in the world. And this track has been producing outstanding times all season long. We saw Christian Coleman run an unofficial 6.37. It would have been a new world indoor record, but they didn't have the pressure-sensitive blocks set up, and so he didn't get credit for that. USA Track and Field, though, is actually petitioning to see if that can be. Now there's a new world record. He broke that at Albuquerque last week. So they wanted that to be an American best, but we know that fast times can be run here. I think Andre Ewers can have a shot at that record. He needs to be pushed a little bit, though. We'll see if somebody can step up and run in the mid to low 650s.
You talk about a smooth transition to Tallahassee. Last year he won the junior college 100-meter event. He earned 11 All-American honors between the indoor and outdoor seasons at the national junior college level, competing for South Plains, Texas in 2015, and then last year, most recently, for Butler Community College.
Well, South Plains, there's a couple of junior colleges, community colleges in Texas where young talent goes if they're Prop 48 kids or didn't get into D1 schools that they wanted to. Great place, Blinn Community College, South Plains.
Keep an eye on Keyshawn Limehouse. He will be to Ewers left in lane 3. He's a transfer from Coastal Carolina. See if he can push the talented Seminole. Off the start, inside lead for Florida State, but here comes Ewers, and he will blow on by 6.67. The fastest man right now in the NCAAs. 6.69 Keyshawn Limehouse, and Ewers in that number 2 spot at 6.83. So we told you about Limehouse, and a guy to keep an eye on for the Chanticleers of Coastal Carolina making the transition.
Well, you see the guy in the middle with the tape on his right knee. He gets a good start, but he's got great acceleration. He even shuts it down at the end, and we got a shot of him walking away, limping just a little bit. He has that knee taped up. Looks like maybe a little patella tendonitis. That's kind of what that KT tape does. Tries to keep your patella in the right position. We'll see if we can get word from a coach and see how he's feeling. But he looked good, and that's an exceptional time for this qualifying round.
Fastest time of the year for Limehouse of Virginia Tech. Heat number 2, North Carolina State. Jay Johnson, true freshman from Raleigh, Panther Creek. And track for head coach Paul Scruggs, Panther Creek High School. He was the MVP of the state tournament and the indoor championships last year.
For Ewers, that puts him in a non-guaranteed spot, though. He puts himself at some danger. It looked to me like maybe he didn't realize that Limehouse was ahead.
That was Ewers. Dan, I think Ewers was he won the race like we originally called it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's what our eyes told us, but then we didn't have that initially, and now we've got it straight.
And David, I never trust my eyes. I always go the other way. That time I should have.
Yeah, I was thinking, wait a minute, that was a Florida State jersey who crossed the line first. Yeah.
Well, so much for that. Ewers is in as the heat winner. He's an automatic qualifier.
Yes.
So heat number 2. Brandon Taylor, Miami. Darrell Gay on the outside, Florida State. Clemson's Alex Sands. Ricky Weber, Boston College. Donald McClinton of Louisville. Chuka Sorinati of Syracuse in lane 1. Sands of Clemson had the 3rd fastest 200-meter time this year. Taylor's had a good indoor season for the Canes. And on the start, it's Jay Johnson of North Carolina State. Here comes Darrell Gay on the outside for the Seminoles. And it will be lane 7, Florida State. Gay at 6.78. Johnson for the Wolfpack in at a 6.81.
Well, Jay Johnson on the inside, he shot out of there like a rocket. Just a freshman out of North Carolina State. You see him second from the right. Boom, he got a great start. And, sometimes it benefits you. You see Darrell Gay out there on the outside. Sometimes it benefits you not to be in the mix. Nobody can really see what you're doing on the outside, but that's great acceleration by him to come through and win the heat. But love that start by the freshman down in lane 2.
Gay, part of that strong and talented sprinting core in the recent recruiting class for Florida State. He wins heat 2, 6.78. Johnson of North Carolina State with a 6.81. This 3rd heat is the one that caught my attention. You have some speed all over, and it's balance, highlighted by Miles Valentine, the sophomore. He was a 60 meters champion this year at the Power 5 invite, returning all ACC performer last year, placing 3rd in this event. Edward Clark of Florida State, another veteran for the Seminoles. Can he keep their momentum going? And then let's not forget about Troy Pride Jr., lane number 6 from Notre Dame, the cornerback on the Fighting Irish football team the past couple of years. He's coming off the first place finish of a 60-meter dash at the Alex Wilson just last weekend.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. One thing that's missing a little bit different than last year is we had more football players out there. Naheem Hines he's just playing football now and not running track, but we had a number of football players that joined us at Notre Dame last year.
23.83 meters. Josh Davis, your gold medalist.
Pride and Valentine, both sophomores. Edward Clark, a junior for Florida State. Third heat of 4 in the men's 60. The top time belonging to Andre Ewers of Florida State so far as expected. Ewers' time is 6:69.
These 60-meter runners have to be in such a zone. There's so much stuff going on. We got a long jump going on. We got a pole vault going on. The crowd doesn't stop talking. They have to be in a zone and a quiet place, and they're as quiet as they can be on that side of the track, but there's sounds all over. They just need to key in, listen for the gun, and react. Block everything else out.
Gun is up and at the start. A big burst by Miles Valentine, but here comes the football player from Notre Dame, Troy Pride Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, Josh Davis throws not only a facility.
Valentine with that quick burst at the start, able to fend off the Fighting Irish. Those two clock at 6.73.
Well, it's just like you called it, Sean. You said a lot of balance there, and a very equal heat. Looked like 3 or 4 guys all got off at about the same time. Clark in the middle, but it's the taller athlete on the outside, the taller. And negotiating that little uphill ramp seems sometimes almost as treacherous as running the race itself. But a good run for the football player.
So you have 3 athletes in that heat alone post 3 of the top 4 times so far. Valentine, Pride Jr., and Clark. A strong heat number 3. Valentine moves in since he won, and Pride Jr. and Clark sitting in pretty good shape with those times.
Yeah, they've all got to be very happy about where they are right now with only 1 heat to go.
The last time we saw this guy, he was tearing up the track in Atlanta. What an outdoor ACC championship for Crevant Charleston, the sophomore, and he truly was a freshman phenom for the Wolfpack a season ago.
2017 ACC Outdoor Rookie of the Year and MVP of that meet. 3 gold medals at that outdoor championships. Talked to Alan Johnson, and he said he is something special.
Won the gold in the 100, the 200, and the 4x1 in Atlanta last year at the Outdoors.
Charleston's fun to watch, not only because he's talented, but because he seems to really enjoy himself out there as well.
North Carolina State with good speed in lanes 1 and 7. Dylan Peoples, the sophomore. But right now it's Charleston. Good speed by Dontavian Smith, the freshman from North Carolina. It will be Charleston across with a time of 6.76. That's the 5th fastest time. We finish up the heats in the 60 meters. Peoples second as he's able to fend off Smith of North Carolina.
Dontavian Smith will finish at 6.80. Isaiah Taylor at 6.87 in the top and number 5 position in heat 4 will go to Samuel Denmark.
There you get a good look. It's tough to see who really got the drop, but you know, immediately Charleston had a 1 or 2 meter lead on the field, and his teammate on the outside made up for a little bit of that. But, you know, the angle just allows us to look at the results.
Charleston of North Carolina State, a 6.76. His teammate Peebles at a 6.79. Both move in to the top 8. Both into the finals tomorrow. Early votes in the ACC for Newcomer of the Year might be this young man, the junior Andre Ewers, adding to his legacy. He punches his ticket into the finals tomorrow. Alongside Olympic gold medalist Dan O'Brien, David Mitchell, Hannah Yates keeping busy down trackside. Sean Kinney welcoming you back to Clemson as we move into the women's 800-meter prelims. Everybody around this conference was spoiled the last few years with Hannah Green of Virginia Tech. What a talent. You see the championship record time, 2:02.28, turned in by Green last year.
Pokratsky, though, we talked about Rachel Pokratsky, her former teammate, trying to take on that mantle of leadership in the conference. She comes in with the seed time nearly 3 seconds faster than anyone else in the ACC. However, 7-time NCAA Division II All-American Fallon Ferguson, now at Clemson, knows how to perform her best during the championship season, and she had by far the best 800 split on the DMR last night at 2:03.60. She will be running here in this first heat. And a pair of freshmen, Kayla Johnson of Miami and Cameron McIntosh of Clemson, who ran the 1200 leg on their second place DMR, they're looking to make an impact here as individuals in their ACC Indoor Championships debut.
Some great stories for Clemson as you get a good look at Ferguson, the senior. As David mentioned, the transfer from Johnson C. Smith. She was a 10-time Division II All-American. Kingston, Jamaica. And we've seen that Jamaican tie through the years for Clemson.
Clemson over the years has had a lot of great Jamaican runners, Coach Mark Elliott, and now volunteer assistant coach Natoya Gould, who we saw has the record for the conference and as well as the record now for the facility. She ran a world-leading time earlier this year, sub-2. She's training with the athletes and is a volunteer assistant coach. So there's a lot of appeal here and a lot of connection and history as well of success for those athletes when they come to Clemson.
Runners getting their staggered start positions. Other participants in this first heat, Erin Sullivan is a freshman from Notre Dame out of Indianapolis. She was a state runner-up in the 800 a year ago. Shannon Quinn is a one to keep an eye on, the junior from Virginia Tech. Last year, she did not place in the 800 meters outdoor, and she ran the 400 meters during the indoor championships a season ago, but now back into the 800 meters. Maddie Rennison, the freshman from Virginia, she just tore it up at Lynchburg EC Glass High School. She's a 5-time state champion.
And you mentioned Shannon Quinn of Virginia Tech. She was on that gold medal distance medley relay last night running the 800 leg.
Take us through the strategy in the 800, David.
Well, here with this qualifying, what we're looking at is the qualifying formula again. Top 2 are going to be your automatic qualifiers. So what they're really all about is making sure they get in the top 2. And then it's only the next 2 fastest times. So that's really a crapshoot. There's no guarantee that whatever you run is going to be in there. It's Cameron McIntosh takes the lead. She's the former high school 600-meter national record holder. Had to have surgery, heart surgery, on the type of heart ailment that's a defect that often takes the life of young athletes. Now she's back and running. She ran a great 1,200-meter leg, and she's leading her teammate Ferguson right here.
Yeah, you talk about an inspirational story. That young lady leading the pack in this 800 with Cameron McIntosh. As David mentioned, a former national record holder in the 600. She is diagnosed with the rare heart condition AAOCA. It's the second leading cause of sudden cardiac death in young athletes. She was diagnosed with that, went through surgery 1 month after she set that #1 time in the country. She underwent surgery. It was not an easy recovery. Just a month after the surgery, they drained 33 ounces of fluid from her heart.
Unbelievable. And look at her out there, healthy and strong and running well and trying to put some distance on the rest of the pack. Right now, it's Janelle Damone up into third. She came in with a 2:11.08 seat time, sophomore from Florida State. Ferguson could go anytime she needs to. I'm confident with that 2:03.60 she put down yesterday that she's just doing what she needs to get through this first round and into the final.
As expected, it's the 2 Clemson teammates stretching the lead.
And a little teamwork. McIntosh struggling, Ferguson completely relaxed. And they will be your automatic qualifiers.
Clemson punches their first 2 tickets into the 800 finals. Cameron McIntosh, Ellen Ferguson, the senior, and the Tigers off and running in heat #1.
Madison Harris there for Florida State, 2:07.57, hoping to be one of the two to make it in by time. We'll keep our eyes on that.
Heat number 1, and it belongs to Clemson with McIntosh at 2:05.84. Ferguson second, followed by Harris of Florida State. Damone and Harris for the Seminoles at 2:07 and 2:08.70. Rachel Pokratsky getting set to go for Virginia Tech, and the junior with a lot of expectations coming into this season. She was dynamite last year, and now you just get the feeling that this is her year in the ACC.
It really is, and she has dominated. She easily could have been running the mile, and where she's the top seed, but she wanted to come in here. Coaches placed her here, and she was a USATF outdoor national qualifier at 800. She ran third in the indoor ACCs last year and runner-up at the outdoor ACCs, really looking for that first individual gold medal as well. Ranked number 5 in the NCAA at this distance, number 6 at the mile. She is definitely on a roll, Sean.
Hey, you mentioned that mile time of 4:34.01, 6th fastest in the NCAA. And break down the mile and the 800 and what makes Pokratsky good at both, and why the 800 here as far as her opportunity to succeed.
She seems to have been a little bit more trained toward the 800, although her mile has come around a lot more this year. She's got a lot more experience in the big meets at 800. And looking from a team standpoint, Katie Kennedy is in the mile. They kept her out of the distance medley relay where she'd often been the anchor, and she ran in the mile qualifying earlier today. So they're looking at the possibility of some balance here. And probably Rachel has a shot at being one of the very best in the country at 800 meters, and they want to guarantee her spot by getting a great time in the final here. We don't expect it in this qualifying, but we do expect to see it tomorrow.
Second heat. Again, the top two move into the finals of the 800 tomorrow.
Brittany Aveni in there for Duke, 7th in the outdoor 800 and in last year's DMR. She's one of those who might be able to challenge a little bit, or at least try to get into that top 2.
Aveni was an NCAA East regional qualifier last year, missed out on the NCAAs, as did Pokratsky in this event. She was just 2 spots away from making the trip to Eugene. Early, comfortable lead for Pokratsky after the opening 200.
Yeah, she's just easing her way through it. She's got, as we said, a 3-second faster seed than anybody else in the field, so she's able to basically do as she sees fit here. She could have hung back and tried to kick, but it's easier to get out in front, stay clear of the traffic. We've seen a little bit of bumping in other races. She doesn't want any part of that. She just wants to move on.
Kelly Hart of Notre Dame sitting in that runner-up spot, the junior from Arlington, Virginia. She was a 2017 first-team All-American indoor in the DMR for the Fighting Irish. That's been an event that they have had success in the past couple of years. Second-team All-ACC indoor in this event last year.
She was on that third-place DMR last night for Notre Dame that ran so very well also. So she's right now has herself in a very nice position to move up into that top 2. Aveni of Duke right now over Hart for that second automatic qualifier, but here goes Hart.
It is the bell lap of the 800. Pokratsky in complete control for Virginia Tech. Back and forth it's been for that number 2 spot with Aveni and Hart, Notre Dame and Duke. We'll see how those two duel it out. Pokratsky's
safe right now. Hart turning over much faster than anyone else behind Pokratsky. Those two are going to be your automatic qualifiers out of this heat.
Virginia Tech, Rachel Pokratsky, 2:07.07, the winning time. Hart clocks in at 2:07.78.
Not taxing at all for Rachel Pokratsky. That was a very easy run for her. She never put herself in any stress at all. Got out fast enough to get out of traffic and then cruised the rest of the way home.
Well, and guys, it's very rare that you see a college athlete that can exceed both in the 8 and the 15. What she's doing, you see more on the international level. You know, somebody who has the strength to run the 15. She could probably even go up to a 5K at some point, but she makes it look easy, and you see her. She continues to glance at the clock. She knows right where she's at. Your best athletes know perfectly where their pace is and exactly where they're at in the race.
Yeah, that was a textbook kind of qualifying if you were one of the top seeds in a race right there.
And just imagine the benefits of running with Hannah Green the last 3 years and what she learned from her and moving forward. In 2018, Pokratsky hoping to capture the ACC gold for the first time. She was the bronze medalist a year ago. She watched her teammate Hannah Green win it. A lot of people feel this could be her season.
Kelly Hart with that 2:07.78, a big season best for her. She came in at 2:09.04, so she ran well at the right time, and she's going to have herself a spot in that final tomorrow.
Heat 3 of 3 in the women's prelim of the 800. Lori Barton, Virginia Tech. Torino of Duke, Beth Schenk of Pittsburgh, Gianna Bender, Boston College, Kayla Johnson, Miami. Anna Weiler of Pitt, and Molly McCabe and Blake Dodge rounding out this field.
So another strong performer for Virginia Tech. There, Lori Barton, Kayla Johnson, you mentioned, outstanding as a high schooler, and now coming in to her first ACC race. She did not run like many of the athletes we've seen in the distance medley last night. She's a 4-time relay All-American in high school, including 2 national titles in the 800-meter sprint medley. She was Florida high school state champ at 800 and in the 4x4. So Johnson there in the Miami green, hip number 4, and Barton for Virginia Tech. She was the USATF junior silver medalist at 800 meters. They should be the ones, according to form, dueling out in front.
Kayla Johnson, part of that local contingency for Miami. Amy Dean was able to go to Southridge High School, pull 2 signees for the Hurricanes in this past recruiting cycle, and Johnson is going to be a good one. She already is.
She already is. She ran her qualifying time, that 2:06.54, right here on this track at the Clemson Tiger Paw, and really made a splash for herself. She hadn't run close to that time yet in the indoor season, setting herself up to peak at the right time. And Dan, you pegged it. I mean, Florida is loaded, and that Miami area may be the most loaded for 800 on down, so good pickings available to the Miami coaches.
Well, it's interesting. We were talking about it over lunch today as well, and one of the things is the contrast between the ACC and the SEC and the Pac-12, and there's so many of these great athletes from the Southeast that aren't staying at ACC schools. ACC schools have a little bit higher level of academic standards, certainly, and so you wonder, where are all those great sprinters from Florida going? Well, they're ending up at the SEC schools and the places that you actually have a chance to win national titles. So some of that talent is certainly being thinned out by quote some of the better track conferences here in the United States.
And on the men's side, the Southeast loses some sprinters to football quite frequently as well, because football's king in the South, and most of the great sprinters have been football players in high school as well. These two, again, though, Johnson of Miami and Barton of Virginia Tech, they come in as the number 3 and number 4 seeds, and we'll see what they can do now that they're on the track together.
Third and final heat of the women's 800 underway here from Clemson. Barton's a sophomore for Virginia Tech. Had a good showing at the Music City Challenge. A lot of good competition held annually at that event. Placed 7. She was a silver medalist on the USA Junior Outdoor Championship squad this past summer.
Right now it is 2:10.43 and 2:10.44 qualifying spots. Johnson sets the pace out in front. She looks in control. Very calm, very collected for a freshman.
Kayla Johnson at the break. Blake Dodge, North Carolina, in that number 2 spot. Here comes Barton, edging her way into a comfortable position in that number 2 spot.
Barton just a sophomore herself, so youth being served well here with our 2 favorites here in this third heat.
Talked about Johnson and a freshman. Talk about the pacing throughout the course of a year. If you're the coach of a youngster competing in the ACC, it is a transition for a high school athlete to come in and now start competing against some of the best in the country.
I think the biggest concern is not increasing the training too much to the point of injury or fatigue or illness, because the stress of being a freshman is enough to put a lot of people in some peril anyway, let alone being a freshman student athlete with all those extra demands.
Well, I think probably one of the biggest, toughest transitions that high school athletes need to make as we get here to this final lap is the length of the season. They start training in September, and their season doesn't end till the end of June if you go to the NCAA championship. So very, very difficult. Athletes really struggle at the end of those seasons with fatigue.
And I think that's part of the reason Johnson has been held back a little bit early. She didn't race a time anywhere near this, and she's looking great. She's got herself free of trouble, and Barton trying to hold on for second right now to be the auto qualifier.
Johnson, Barton, Dodge, 1, 2, 3, Miami, and Virginia Tech. North Carolina in that number 3 spot, but it was Kayla Johnson pretty much from start to finish. A 2:06.80. That's the third fastest time in the women's 800.
And here we'll see our replay with Barton putting herself in position by getting around Blake Dodge on the back stretch. Barton running very strong, again looking for that. We're going to cut right to the finish where we see Kayla Johnson. She's trying to get a little look up to see. Doing great.
And guys, she's the fastest Hurricane in the 400 meters this year as well.
And she's just a freshman. The versatility, the youth for Miami. Johnson with a 2:06.80. Lori Barton in as well with that 2:07.41. But the favor coming in was the Hokie Rachel Pokratsky after a third-place finish a year ago. She has the stride. She has the look. Will she be an ACC champion here in 2018? She moves one step closer into the final. Welcome back inside the beautiful Clemson Indoor Track and Field facility as we are in day 2 of the 2018 ACC Indoor Track and Field Championships. The drama just keeps building. The climax tomorrow with the championships and the finals. We'll have coverage tomorrow as well right here on the ACC Network Extra. The men's 800-meter prelims is next. It could be a changing of the guard. Last year's 1-2 finish of Patrick Joseph, Drew Piazza from Virginia Tech have moved on. They've graduated. Joseph with the championship record time set last year of 1:46.23.
And Joseph's actually here. That's one of the things that's going to make this race interesting. The top 4 seeds are all NCAA qualifiers, ACC placers, indoors and out, and they've raced head-to-head multiple times in many different settings. Another showdown is looming here today, and that's led by that indoor meet record holder, defending champ Patrick Joseph of Virginia Tech. And the fact that he is actually the number 4 seed speaks to the quality of the field and just adds to the intrigue of the way this is going to work out. The gentlemen won't have the luxury that some of the women had. They will not be able to ease their way through. The competition is too deep here to be able to do that. I had a chance, you can see John Lewis of Clemson on your screen right now. Spoke with him briefly after the distance medley relay last night and asked him about how these same guys go against each other over and over again. And he said it makes it really fun. We never give up. Every one of us runs hard through the line every time.
Yeah, this first heat, when you look at Joseph coming back and then John Lewis, who had just a heck of a stretch to start the new year in January where he had a mile effort in the Clemson opener, which earned him the ACC Track and Field Performer of the Week, and then he followed that up with a first-place finish in the 1,000 meters in the orange and purple invite. His time shattered a 33-year-old mark. So Lewis is a guy who has been consistent in his time here at Clemson.
He was a high school national champion at 800 meters and was a noted front runner. Then, throughout this season when he's run 800 meters, he's been much more patient, hung back, run steady splits. We'll see what he's able to do here with the meet record holder and the defending champ Patrick Joseph in his heat.
As they await the start of the men's 800, let's go check out some of the field events, and it is the women's pole vault underway. Duke getting ready for the approach.
He said in 2017, that time at 146.20.
All right, guys, this is Laura Marty. She's in 4th position right now. This is her second attempt at 4 meters 30. And Duke qualified 5 women for these championships. Your leader right now, though, is Virginia Tech's Lisa Gunnarsson. She comes in with the best jump this season. She's made 4 meters 30, 14.1 and a quarter. This is not Gunnarsson. This is Rachel Baxter up for her second attempt. Gunnarsson has made this bar. She's in 3rd position. Rachel Baxter, so that's a second attempt miss for her.
And you know, Dan, going into this pole vault, everybody thought it was going to be Gunnarsson and Heath of Duke, those two going back and forth, so it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Let's go to the 800 trackside, the first of 3 prelims in the men's 800. This one featuring last year's ACC champion Patrick Joseph.
Joseph hanging back right now in that inside box, running about 3rd position. He was second-team All-American, finishing 12th at the NCAA Finals outdoors. Also showing great range. He was 5th man on Virginia Tech's ACC runner-up cross-country team, and also strength in the mile. He's run 3:56.58, the best mile time out of anyone in our field. So he's able to hold back and still have the strength to finish up. Right now it's John Lewis of Clemson setting the pace.
Lewis of Clemson with the early lead. Dante Watson of Pitt in that number 2 spot.
Watson all ACC as a second team in the 4x400. Here comes Joseph.
We'll keep an eye on Patrick Joseph, the defending champion. Right now comfortably sitting in that 3 spot. He's right behind Watson, measuring down John Lewis, the junior. The junior from Philadelphia, Lewis, Watson, and Joseph. But here comes the ACC champ, Patrick Joseph.
Those two should be the 2 qualifiers out of this heat, and they have themselves in great position now with about 150 to go. No need for Lewis to accelerate here, but he may not know what's behind him, if it's one person, if it's 2 or 3 people. So he's going to go ahead and go.
If you're Joseph, what are you reading here as you become the hunter? Just you see him turn around. He's checking to see where the next runner is behind him. He'll finish in that number 2 spot. Good time, though, for John Lewis. 1-2, Clemson, Virginia Tech.
Season best there for Lewis. Here comes Patrick Joseph in mid-race, moves up, puts himself in position. Did not ever make the attempt at coming up on John Lewis. As you said, Sean, he's looking around. He eases his way in.
So this
very good running.
Well, and this is the way Lewis is kind of programmed to run, and he has to run. And in the finals tomorrow, he's not afraid to be a front runner and to take the legs out of some of the faster sprinters at the end of this race tomorrow. He's going to have to be courageous like that and take the lead and really push the pace.
So the right people got through out of that heat. We'll see what the time qualifiers will be. Basically, that was, I believe, a season best for each of them. Patrick Joseph focusing a little bit more on the mile early in this season. And he looked like he was not trying for a season best there by any means. So he's got a lot left in him. It's going to be a great final.
We haven't talked a lot today about Wake Forest, but it's time to give the Demon Deacons some love. And Robert Heppenstall, the junior, the outdoor All-American a season ago, 2-time first-team All-American.
Heppenstall comes in with the fastest qualifying time. He finished 3rd in this race, indoors and outdoors last year, but then he went on to finish 5th at the World Junior Championships for Canada. He's also been a Pan American junior silver medalist. He has experience on those international levels. He did not run in the distance medley relays. He is just here to excel in this event.
He broke the Demon Deacon school record last year, finishing 4th at the NCAAs. Heppenstall headlining heat number 2. Malik Epps at Clemson, John Lyons, Georgia Tech, Elijah Silva, Notre Dame, Mick Haynes, the freshman from Boston College. Gabriel DeRosa, the junior for the Yellow Jackets. Kirk Hansen and Andreas Latigue of Georgia Tech.
Well, Heppenstall on the inside. I'm not sure I'd recognize him if he didn't wear his high socks. That's a trademark look for him, as well as the beard.
Latigue coming from the outside. He ran an outstanding leg yesterday in his distance medley, the fastest 800 split out of any of the men at 1:49.42. So he's putting it out there right now. He wants to get into this final.
He's been a good DMR runner, that Yellow Jacket squad. A.Z. Reese and Avery Bartlett, Jeremy Greenwald. And right now it is Latigue leading the way. Heppenstall in that number 2 spot.
So if I'm Epps or Hansen right there of Notre Dame in that top 4, I'm thinking I've got to get Latigue because I'm not going to beat Heppenstall. Heppenstall is going to end up being the first one to cross, or he'll be out of any traffic and just relax his way into second the way Patrick Joseph did. But they really can't be thinking about Heppenstall.
Heppenstall kicking it into a different gear. Latigue takes a glance back. He has a couple of runners on his heel as they hit the bell lap. Robert Heppenstall of Wake Forest. Latigue of Georgia Tech sitting in that number 2 spot.
Kirk Hansen trying to close, but Latigue inching away. That was a breakthrough race for him last night. And once you can do it, you know you can do it, and your body will allow you to do it again. That confidence factor is so different.
Heppenstall with some grace. He will go across the line for 1:49.54. Latigue second, followed by Hansen of Notre Dame.
Living in at 150.48. And rounding out the top 3, Kirk Hansen at 151.75.
Hansen taking his PR down from a season best of 155.92 to 151.79 there. Kirk Hansen giving everything he could possibly do to be one of those qualifiers by time. He's got to be very pleased with that performance here in his senior season.
It's the 4th fastest time so far through the first 2 heats for Latigue of Georgia Tech. Heppenstall with that 1:49.55, and that's going to make for a fun finals tomorrow when you have Lewis, Joseph, and Heppenstall headlining the pack.
It is going to be a highlight of this meet.
They're official in the men's 800. Robert Heppenstall of Wake Forest, Andreas Latigue of Georgia Tech, Kirk Hansen, Notre Dame.
Hansen right now sitting in the 6th spot. We know that there will be 2 qualifiers automatically qualifying. So basically, he's not interested in their times. He's going to get bumped down to number 8 no matter what they run. Rachel Baxter, the great California high school star, now for Virginia Tech, vaulting. And she's going to clear 4 meters 30 here. Sits her in 2nd place for right now. Bounces the bar a little bit, Sean, but it stays up.
Stays up there nice and level. And moving into 2nd place in the women's pole vault.
Her hip height over that bar was significant. She's got more bars in her.
3rd and final heat of the men's 800. Neil Gorley of Virginia Tech, the redshirt senior, the 2-time All-American, returning first-team All-American in the 1500, placing 5th last year. He's a gold medal ACC outdoor 1500-meter winner. He'll be matched up against Avery Bartlett, the junior from Tallahassee for the Yellow Jackets. He, too, was an All-American, placing 15th. He set the school record in the 800 last year at Notre Dame at the Indoor Championships.
So Bartlett ran on the anchor of the distance medley. A little bit out of character for him running the 1600 compared to what he usually does. Ran 4:02. He ran a great race. He actually made a bid at moving his team up quite a bit and then hung on for 4:02 and dropped back a little bit. But it was Gorley, the Scottish native, who anchored for the winning Virginia Tech team, sub-4 on that anchor to get the win. He had the presence of mind to be aware of Clemson's fast time from heat number 1, as well as holding off Notre Dame in 2nd place. So he's got it together here as we head into this 800 meters, our 3rd and final heat.
Talk about Bartlett. I saw him run at the Iowa State Classic earlier this year, and that was an ultra competitive field. a good weekend of running where you get matched up against some of the other conferences, a good measuring stick, and Bartlett was right there for Georgia Tech. Right now it's Lloyd, Oliver Lloyd, the junior from Clemson. Bartlett in that second spot. John Archie of Wake Forest sitting third.
Lloyd comes in with the 1:52.50 time, and he's trying to make sure he gets in that top two. He's putting himself in a good spot. Gorley now on the move, just as he did in the distance medley, sort of biding his time early. He's on Bartlett's shoulder. I think they are so experienced with each other, they know what's going to happen. They're not as concerned about Oliver Lloyd right now. They're concerned about each other.
2 laps to go, and it is Gorley who's making the biggest move on this third lap. Gorley taking the outside route, goes right by Oliver Lloyd. Avery Bartlett trying to maneuver himself into position for this upcoming fourth and final lap. You see some late speed coming from Matt Wisner as he squeezes on in, and he's into the number 2 spot for Duke.
And Bartlett had to break stride there. He's going to have to get those long legs cranking, and there he goes. Bartlett on the back stretch says enough of this. Goes right by Neil Gorley, but not far enough. Gorley has amazing ability to just sort of turn the speed up.
We'll see how much Gorley wants to push it. Does not look like he wants to, so he'll settle into that number 2 spot. And I'll tell you what, it was not an easy race for Avery Bartlett, especially that third lap. He had to overcome a little bit of an obstacle there, but you could tell the green light went lit brightly.
Here comes Bartlett. He had just been jostled on the other straightaway. He comes around now and says, I'm going to get out of here. And then Gorley comes with him. The qualifying for that 800, which we know is going to be an outstanding final. The top people that we expected to get through did get through. Took 150, 145. Matt Wisner of Duke from that heat, the last qualifier.
Virginia Tech, the defending champion, looking to defend his title tomorrow in the 800, but he's got some competition. Bartlett of Georgia Tech looking good. Lewis of Clemson. It's going to be fun, the 800 finals tomorrow. We'll be back with more after this. Welcome back inside the Clemson Indoor Track and Field Facility. Beautiful setting for the 2018 ACC Indoor Track and Field Championships. 4th time that Clemson has hosted the event as we go to the field events. And one of the top pole vaulters getting ready to go. Trying to clear 14.5 and a quarter.
Well, this is your ACC champion, Lisa Gunnarsson, just a freshman. She managed 4 meters 35, 14.3 and a quarter. Just 2 athletes managed 4.30, 14.1 and a quarter, and that was Lisa Gunnarsson and her teammate Rachel Baxter. So the Hokies are going to go 1-2 in this event. Just freshmen, both of them just freshmen.
And you look back at the success of Virginia Tech, and here is a reason they're always in the mix. They get performances from a young freshman in her first indoor championship, stepping up big, and now a chance to clear 14.5 and a quarter.
Well, and turn around tomorrow. The men could sweep tomorrow as well. They went 1-2-4-5 a year ago, just missed that 3rd spot, but Virginia Tech is becoming pole vault U, the place to win conference titles year after year after year. But I believe success breeds success, and you see that in the women's 800. You get somebody like Hannah Green, and they lead to Rachel Prokrasky, and then a young girl saying, I want to go to that school because I'm going to run the 800 with them. You train with them. One goes out, another one comes in, and here, 2 solid freshmen. And everybody was expecting that showdown between Lisa Gunnarsson and Madison Heath. Madison Heath just didn't have a great indoor season. She jumped well a couple of times, but was not horribly consistent. Laura Mardia jumped even a little bit higher than Madison did this indoor season. But then you see 3 Blue Devils in the top 8 as well, so they're going to score well here.
Take us through the approach for Gunnarsson as she gets focused and dialed in.
Well, she's jumping at 4 meters 40. 4 meters 40, 14.5. She's been over 14 feet, 7.5 inches this year. But as you are out there all by yourself and you're jumping at high heights, you don't want to change anything drastically. You're able to make bars you normally make in practice, but what happens when the bar goes higher, you start getting on bigger pulls, stiffer pulls, longer pulls, so certain technical aspects of the jump have to change. A lot of times on a new pole like that, it's a feeler jump. You get a chance to see how stiff is this new pole. I move my hand grip up 6 inches or 3 inches. What does that feel like from my depth perception? And that to me looked like a feeler jump, and you could see she didn't really finish the top. She got on the pole, she felt it, and she gave up over the top. But not a whole bunch should change from jump to jump.
What's the communication here? She's talking to her coach. These are the adjustments that you were just talking about as she looks to her corner for some advice.
Some step adjustments, some hand grip adjustments. Anticipate your takeoff a little bit early. Pull drop, pull tip drop timing, things like that, or even positions while you're swinging through the curve of your pole. So you want to put your hands up early, and that's really a key to a lot of these athletes. It's timing that portion of the jump, and we've had great Americans, Sandy Morris, formerly University of Arkansas, but Sam Kendricks, a world champion. When you see it done right, man, it is just so beautiful because the timing is just impeccable at takeoff. Top hand is as high as it can go. On your last stride, you're long jumping essentially into that pole vault pit.
We'll keep an eye on Gunnarsson. She still has a couple of more jumps in that pole vault. One of the top 10 pole vaulters in the country coming into this ACC championship weekend. We move into the busy 200 meters. 9 prelims in the 200, meaning that the top 8 advance by time. And looking to set the pace will be Imani Clark, the true freshman from Syracuse, Hampton, Georgia, Lovejoy High School. The Orange trying to build some momentum in the 200.
Maybe she's got some family members here, close to home. Athletes will stay in their lanes. 2-turn stagger, they'll stay in their lanes the complete way. And this track, wonderful bend on it. People don't look like they're struggling that much to run these curves. And I just got back from Albuquerque, New Mexico, where they had the U.S. championships, and it's very steep turns, and it's almost like you run uphill and go downhill. And it's tempo like that, and the changes like that on an indoor track that can really throw you off. But everybody looks like they've handled and managed these turns and these bends very, very well so far.
Mentioned this is the 4th time that Clemson has hosted the ACC indoors. It's the first time since they renovated this facility. They added the bank in 2016, so it is the first time for the championships that they've had the bank look here in Clemson. We've talked about it, that a number of these runners have competed here in this regular season, whether it was the Clemson Invite or the Tiger Paw most recently. So a lot of these athletes familiar with the facility, and that's always a huge advantage. We saw that last year with the Mayo and the traditional Mayo Mile and the Notre Dame indoor track, which is traditionally longer than your standard 200 meters, and that proved to be some adjustment for a lot of the athletes a season ago.
Well, and the oversized tracks are everybody's favorite tracks. That's where you see some of the fastest mile times. The Dempsey Indoor Field House at the University of Washington, the fastest mile times in the country have been set up there. But you cannot hold a championship, a national championship, on an oversized track, and sometimes those marks don't even count towards the NCAA rankings. So they had to go to a bank track here. A flat 200-meter track is very difficult to run fast on. So when they got the bank here, everybody started calling.
First heat about ready to begin. Imani Clark, lane 3. Monica Heil, Boston College in 4. Norma Kiver, Virginia Tech in 5. Victoria Parker of Syracuse in 6, and an early injury. And that will leave us with 3. On the outside, it is Syracuse with Victoria Parker, but here comes Clark for the Orange. And it will be Clark, followed by Parker. And a number 3 spot from Monica Heil. Nora McIver coming up lane for Virginia Tech off that first turn. 24:04 for Imani Clark. Her teammate Parker in that number 2 spot at 24:51. And let's hope Nora McIver of Virginia Tech is all right. The senior in her final ACC championship still down, being attended to. And doggone it, you hate to see that.
Well, as she was going full speed, she came off the turn and was just in full stride down the back straight and just, boom, went to a limp and was down in 3 strides. And nothing feels worse as devastating. You see, she starts to feel it right there. You just can't take another step, Sean. It's just explosive. And then we get a look at Imani Clark. So powerful. Looked relatively easy. Continues to just run all the way through the line. And, we're just going to be clock watching. Top 8 advance by time. Same as we did the 400 meters. We're just going to clock watch as we get through heat after heat after heat here.
Heat number 2, Kyla Lewis in lane 3 for Notre Dame, the junior. Emma Taylor, a sophomore from Boston College. Brianna Hayden for Georgia Tech in lane 5. And there is Gabrielle Cunningham, the outdoor school record holder for the Wolfpack in both the 100 and the 200 meters. She set the 200 meter record at the Pan Am Games. We've seen her once already today, and now she's ready to kick it into high gear again here in the 200. Cunningham on the outside, Hayden lane 5, Georgia Tech. Keep an eye out on Kyla Lewis, the junior from Notre Dame, on the inside. Cunningham with the lead for the Wolfpack, but here comes the second-team All-ACC performer from 2 years ago, and Kyla Lewis. Georgia Tech making a push with Hayden, but it will be Cunningham start to finish for NC State.
I was able to be at the Pan Am Junior Championships in Peru as a webcast announcer. And Gabby Cunningham really shined down there in the 4x1 relay and in getting that bronze medal in the 200, and she just continues to improve.
Well, I've just been corrected. We're calling her Gabrielle. It's Gabrielle Cunningham, and she did a wonderful job of feeling the pressure from the inside and really working hard in those last 50 meters. It's all about the time. We've seen her 3 times today, 60 hurdle, 60 dash, and now the 200 meters.
23:84 the time for Cunningham of North Carolina State. Hayden of Georgia Tech in that number 2 spot. That's the second fastest time so far through the first 2 heats. 23:95 for the young Yellow Jacket. Second time that we will get to watch Katia Seymour, the freshman for Florida State. Seymour with that seat time of 23.66. She was one of the top 100 and 200 meter sprinters in the country in high school. She was slowed a little bit last year after a huge 2016 season. She had one of the best in the nation. She was the Florida Gatorade Girls Track Athlete of the Year. Back-to-back Florida State titles in both the 1 and the 200 meters.
And why not just stay at home in Florida and go to college? Reap the benefits. Let a local school get the points that you're going to get nationally anyways. Nice to see that she didn't go west.
She gets position. Nikki Scherer will be in lane 3 for Pitt. Kethlyn Campbell, a freshman from Duke. This heat featuring 3 freshmen. The veteran of the bunch is out in lane 6 with Virginia Tech, Ama Selena Schumi.
Well, the 60's so fast. It's really tough to get a good look at a young athlete and now we'll get a chance to really see her open up her stride and see what kind of runner she really is.
And we're off the third of 9 heats in the 200 meter prelims. Selena Schumi on the outside, Kethlyn Campbell, the freshman for Duke. Let's see what type of finish Katia Seymour can provide. Here comes Seymour, the blazing freshman for Florida State. And it will be Seymour, followed by Campbell. Schumi in that number 3 spot for the Hokies. 23:43 the time. That's the fastest time so far in the women's 200.
Wow. You know, when we're the young athlete, you always look at the posture. You always look at the technique, the arm swing. And honestly, Katia looks as good as a lot of pros out there. Sean, she did a wonderful job. She only really fell apart in the last 10 or 15 meters. She sits back just a little bit, but nothing that's going to really hurt her. But she's just showed good patience, nice tempo. She just held her form together all the way through.
Seymour, Campbell, Schumi, Florida State, Duke, and Virginia Tech in the women's 200. And that time of 23:43, now the fastest. Syracuse, Daisha Presley. 5th fastest qualifying time in the 200. The orange with some good speed as far as depth in this 200-meter race. Miami with some experience on the outside. Erin Ford, this is her 3rd ACC Indoor Championship. She's run the 2. She's run the 4, part of their 4x4 program through the years. Somebody that Amy Dean can insert where they need it. It will be Ford, the junior, on the outside. Desiree Garland a pit in lane 5. Presley of Syracuse and Georgia Tech's Dominique Hall. Here comes Presley as expected for the orange. At the final turn into the straightaway, Presley and Garland. 1-2. Garland with a late lean, and let's see how it shakes out. Good push by Desiree Garland late, and it will be Garland in at a 23.80. Presley checking in at 23.81. Ford of Miami clocking at 24.62.
Well, that was a nice run by those athletes. You know, I was going to say about Daisha Presley, what a difference a year makes. She ran 24.28 last year, comes back this year with a 23.88 on a personal best. That's what you love to see as a coach. Athlete pick up where they left off and show constant improvement each and every year. But a nice run by Desiree Garland. Used her arms and her tempo. Everybody says, well, how do you run fast when you're tired? You just don't slow down. You figure out ways to use your arms and continue the tempo and the rhythm that you established through the entire part of that race.
Madeline Price has broke the Duke 200-meter school record not once, not twice, 3 times this year. She's the record holder of 23.73 set here at this venue at the Tiger Paw.
And she's also a 4x1, 4x2, 4x4, some strong DMRs all over the record books.
Keep an eye on lane 3 with Miami. We talked about Southridge and the recruiting class from that high school in Miami, Florida. Simone Mason, the freshman, teammates in high school with Kayla Johnson, who we just saw a few moments ago. So local talent. Dean putting up those boundary walls around the city of Miami, and 2 extremely gifted athletes now part of the Kane program.
In that previous heat, Garland and Presley, the 3rd and 4th fastest times so far. So acquitting themselves well.
Madeline Price in lane 4. Mason, the freshman, coming on the inside. Price right now with the lead. India Lowe of Duke in the number 2 spot. And Mason of Miami finishes 3rd. 23.81 time for Price. That ties Presley of Syracuse with the 4th fastest time so far.
Well, I like Maddie Price. She's such a gamer out there. She might not be the prettiest runner, but she's just big and strong. Talking to a couple of her coaches earlier today, and they said that, you know, they haven't scored any points in the 60. They haven't scored any points in the 200. They have scored in the 400, so it'd be nice to get a couple points in the short sprints.
She's a very reliable performer. She just, race after race, those coaches can count on her to be out there and be in that same range right around her personal best all the time.
Heat number 6. And you talk about the impact that an athlete like Wembley has on a program and what she did at Miami, what she's doing now on the international stage. And it's no surprise we're seeing all these freshmen for Miami. And here comes another one with Alfreda Steele out of Dade City, Florida. Just a pure young talent. Matched up against Renee Ricketts and Rebecca Smith, 2 veterans for Clemson. Carolyn Brown, the junior for Miami as well.
It's like Brown was a scratch, so it's just 3 on the track.
Can the Hurricane outlast the 2 Tigers here in heat number 6? Smith and Steele at the wire, and it looks like it's Steele who hangs on. Steele hangs on, a 23.51. Smith Clemson just 200ths of a second behind her. Ricketts in that number 3 spot.
2 and 3 overall so far.
Well, those two hitched their wagons together. That's a great run on the outside by Alfreda Steele. But even a better run by Rebecca Smith just on the inside there. She was able to kind of just connect and not lose contract with Alfreda. Ran to an outstanding time, put her in 3rd position with just 3 heats to go.
That puts Cunningham of NC State on the bubble with her 23.84. She's now the 8th qualifier.
23.51, the winning time by Steele for Miami. Tori Robinson getting loose for Clemson. They just keep coming at you, don't they? In these sprinting events. Robinson, 2nd fastest time this year in the ACC's. Seat time of 23.89.
Just an incredible story of perseverance. Broke her leg in high school, severed some arteries. Doctors told her parents that she may never run again. Even the thought of maybe amputating the leg, it was so bad. But she was able to stay home for an entire school year, get homeschooled. She got better, and she said the day that she was able to move her feet and toes, she knew she was going to run again.
Just incredible. Those stories can be found all throughout the conference. Athletes persevering. Virginia Tech, Courtney Blandon, the senior, on the inside. Blandon with the lead. Let's see if Robinson can catch her as those two go neck and neck at the finish. Boy, Blandon was sitting gold, and it's Robinson with that late burst, able to edge Courtney Blandon, and Robinson moves on. 23.68. It'll be the 4th fastest time, and she's sitting in pretty good shape.
2 Clemson sprinters in a row really running the last 10 meters better than their opponents.
Yeah, with 50 meters to go, you could see that Tori Robinson was making a little bit of a move, but the biggest difference, you're totally right, Dave, was those last 10 meters. She kept on running. She didn't lose her form and try to dive to the line with her chest. She kept pumping her arms all the way through the line.
And that puts Madeline Price of Duke at 23.81 as the 8th fastest qualifier now.
And there's a couple of fast ladies in Heat 9.
Shauna Helps, one of those fast ladies for Florida State, anxious to get her opportunity. First things first, Heat number 8. Syracuse with a scratch, and that is Eunice Boateng. We talked about the depth of the orange. She was one of 3 Syracuse runners with a top 10 time in the 200s, but that lane sits vacant. Boateng not out there, so it will be Kennedy Dennis of Virginia Tech, Sharnae Alston, a freshman from Louisville, and Madison Hunter, sophomore out of South Lake, Texas, for the Fighting Irish. A good freshman year for Notre Dame. both the 60 meters and also the 100 hurdles.
Right now, 3 of the top 5 times run by freshmen, including the top 2, Seymour and Steele.
It's a 3-person heat. Hunter on the outside, Alston in lane 5 for Louisville. Dennis of Virginia Tech, the freshman. Seems like all by her lonesome in lane 3. Into the turn, and it will be Dennis for Virginia Tech. Clear lead. Coming on the outside is Hunter, but this one all Kennedy Dennis. 23.92. That will not be fast enough to move into the finals.
Well, guys, I see Maddie Price on the infield. She's sitting with her hands buried in her head buried in her hands, just watching these heats go by. She's sitting on the bubble. What a horrible place to be. And I think, guys, she was a victim. She won her heat easily. And I think she was a victim of just being in a slow heat. Had she had somebody in that heat that was comparative to her, would have pushed her, and maybe the other athlete, she might have been able to run a little bit faster.
Kennedy Dennis not quite fast enough to move into the finals. And Duke will have to play the waiting game one more heat. Madeline Price anxiously awaiting this 9th and final heat. Take a look at the pole vaulting situation. Baxter for Virginia Tech, part of that strong Hokie contingent in that event, smiles after her performance today. All right, let's turn our attention to the 9th and final heat. Shauna Helps of Florida State, the junior. 23.20 this year in the 200 meters and helps the favorite to advance for the Seminoles. 2-time ACC outdoor 100-meter champion. She set the meet record with an 11.26. Anna Jefferson of Virginia, lane 3. Helps in 4. Caitlin Tate for Virginia Tech in 5. And then Brooke Ragland of Louisville in lane 6. And we're off. Time to beat to get into the finals, 23.81. Let's see what Helps can do. Helps digging hard, grabs the lead. Tate of Virginia Tech in the number 2 spot. Jefferson of Virginia coming in through the inside. Shauna Helps pushing hard, and she is across the line. That is a finals qualifying time of 23.43. So it's the 2 Seminoles who clocked the fastest qualifying times. Seymour and Helps both move into the finals.
Well, that was some really solid running by Shauna Helps. The gun went off, and you could tell right away she was digging deep for a fast time. Didn't let up, even when she had a solid lead, 10-15, and that's the one of the issues here when you're advancing by time. I mean, these great athletes have to run all the way through the line. Can't waste a 10th here and there. No energy. No energy savings in this race.
The emotions of an ACC championship. You see her hold up one finger. She was one spot away from moving into the finals. It is a sport of seconds. And Price on the short end there for Duke. The action continues from Clemson. It's the men's 200-meter prelims. We return coverage of the 2018 ACC indoor track. The men's 200-meter prelims coming up, but let's go to the field events, Dan, where it was a freshman field for Virginia Tech. The Hokies going 1-2.
Well, I'm not sure they expected a 1-2 finish, but I figured they knew they had the number 1 jumper, and that's Lisa Gunnarsson right here. She's jumping at 4 meters 50. That's 14.9. She doesn't get it today. That would be a personal best, but she is over 4 meters 35, 14.3 and a quarter, and just a freshman. And she's got an ACC championships in the book, and Hannah Yates is on the field with her right now.
Lisa, you were able to take first place in the women's pole vault today with a final height of 14.3 and a quarter, but you were aiming to go for something more at the end. What were you hoping to achieve?
I think I was hoping to take that last attempt. I think I had it. I've been taking some new poles, and I didn't know exactly how they reacted on me. But I think it's there, and I'm just hoping for better days and better heights in the future.
Well, you're a true freshman. It's your first time at the ACC Indoor Championships. You're able to achieve this. How did you prepare mentally heading into a competition of this magnitude?
I mean, I think I'm the same on every competition. I know how to prepare myself, and I'm just focused, and I'm just going for it and not thinking of the magnitude of the competition.
Well, congratulations. Good luck to you in the future.
Thank you.
What do they always say? Freshmen have no fears. I think there's a perfect example of it right there.
Well, David gave the edge to the experienced ones, and I'm going to give the edge to some of these young freshmen out here because they don't know any better. Then they don't know they're not supposed to be tired or feel fear coming into some of these races or these field events.
Yeah, I think I couldn't have done anything better for the freshmen than to say I expect the older athletes to beat them. So.
Men's 200-meter prelims, top 8 advance by time. There are 7 heats. Sean Crawford has both the ACC and the championship record back in 2000. Last year's ACC champion was Florida State's Darrell Haraway. The runner-up, Cordell Lamb, getting set to go in this first heat. He'll be in lane 3 for the Tigers. NCAA outdoor qualifier in the 4x4, just part of that dynasty that Clemson has had in the event. Look at the great sprinters that Clemson has had through the years. Michael Cheeks, Jeffrey Green, and the list is endless.
Well, and there's a beautiful painting downstairs here from as we come up to our position of all the Olympians who have represented Clemson. And you mentioned Sean Crawford. He represented the United States in the sprints in 2004, 2008. But it's absolutely amazing how many Olympians have come through Speed City.
Lamb of Clemson in lane 3. Jabari Michael Kinsu of Pittsburgh in lane 4. Maurice Simpson of Georgia Tech in 5. Kashif Miller of Syracuse on the outside in lane 6. Here comes last year's ACC runner-up, Cordell Lamb. It will be Lamb, Michael Kinsu, and Simpson. Clemson hit Georgia Tech to kick off the festivities in the 200 prelims.
Wow, 20.95 for Cordell Lamb, and you could tell he was doing something nice there on that second turn. Just gobbled up meters. It's about 2 meters down. He came out the turn. He was about 2 meters ahead. Running on this track every day, being very comfortable with that. You see he's a couple meters down, and of course he's going to get some of those meters back on the turn, but boom, when he comes off, just gobbling up those yards, step after step after step, pulling farther and farther away from the field. And that's what they're all here for, Sean.
It's all about the hardware, and you get the feeling maybe Cordell Lamb had to sweat it out a little bit in the 400. He said, I'm not putting myself in that position again.
Yeah, he was going for the guarantee this time, and that's going to be a tough one to imagine 2094 not being in the top 8.
20.94, a blistering time by Lamb. Michael Kinsu in that number 2 spot for Pitt with a 21.15. Heat number 2, and there's some good speed for Virginia Tech. Keyshawn Limehouse, along with Gregory Childs, the senior out of Chesapeake. Childs was an NCAA qualifier in the 400 hurdles. Placed 22nd. First team All-American at the NCAA level at the indoor season last year with a silver medal with the distance medley. So he has experience. A shorter race for Childs in the 200. Again, a transfer, spent his first 2 years competing in the SEC with South Carolina and the Gamecocks. His second year with Virginia Tech. 2 transfers in this race for the Hokies, with Limehouse coming over from Coastal Carolina. Not too many guys leave Myrtle Beach, Dan.
It's a good place. Good academic environment there, as well as
it is
a fun place to be.
Shanta clears, but right now it's Virginia Tech on the outside. Childs. Frazier trying to spoil the party for Clemson in lane 5. Childs on the outside. Here comes Limehouse. Right now, though, from start to finish, it's Gregory Childs, the senior. And it will be Childs, Frazier, and Limehouse. 21:04 the time for the senior from Chesapeake.
Well, and that is a tough place to run for the entire way ahead of everybody else. Everybody else on the inside, they can gauge their distance to you and gauge their effort as well. When you're on the outside, you're running completely on your own. Can't see anybody on the inside. All you can feel is that pressure. And it's kind of like, do you want to be the chaser? Do you want to be the chaser, or do you want to be the hunted one? And he felt that pressure, used it to his advantage, and just worked it all the way to the line.
Childs, a 21:04. Frazier of Clemson goes 21:53. Limehouse for the Hokies sitting third at 21:81. Heat number 3. Troy Pride Jr., Notre Dame, Alex Sands of Clemson. 2 fastest times in this heat. There's a good look at the sophomore from Covington, Newton County High School. Impressive seat time of 21:26. He's the Prep 2016 AAU national champion, part of a couple of relays. Guided his high school to a state championship as a team 2 years ago. And we're off. Third heat of 7 in the men's 200 prelim. That football physique of Troy Pride Jr. of Notre Dame. Here comes that inside speed, as we talked about, from Sands. Sands head up, arms pushing, and it will be Sands of Clemson. Pride Jr. of Notre Dame second. And coming on the stretch on the outside was Donald McClinton from Louisville, but an impressive race. Sands across the line in 21:21. 4th fastest time so far.
Well, and I think everybody probably learned from Cordell Lamb's mistake earlier in the day. He won his heat, but he let off a little bit down in that last 100 meters, and I think that whole team, that whole Clemson team, might have gotten together and said, look, you know, in these timed races only, you got to run all the way through the line. You got to give a big effort today, or you might not even end up in the race tomorrow. That was a good run by Alex Sands, and what I noticed about these Clemson runners is they all look comfortable. You know, you come into a facility like this, if you're not familiar with it, you know, sometimes you're all over the lane, but all these Clemson runners know exactly where they're at on this track, and they all seem pretty comfortable.
Certainly the times are showing that. 3 of the 8 fastest times coming from Clemson so far. No Tigers represented in heat number 4. It's going to be Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, Boston College, and NC State. The Wolfpack, Shannon Patterson, a senior, has had a lot of success, mainly on relays throughout his career. He was a first-team All-American 2 years ago on the 4x1. Did not run in the outdoor season last year. Back in the indoor circuit this season in his final go-around in Raleigh. He was part of the Pack's first 4x1 All-American honor squad since 1991. They finished 7th, so he has raced in the biggest of spotlights and performed well.
Well, I like his range. You know, he's run 1, 2, 3, and 4. And usually you don't get a 100-meter guy that's too anxious to run in the 400 or the 4x4.
It will be Patterson with the lead. Watkins of Virginia Tech sitting in the number 2 spot. Spears of Georgia Tech third as they enter the final turn. And around the corner, it is Shannon Patterson. And Patterson leans ahead, 21:07. Strong time for the Wolfpack, and NC State as the 3rd fastest time.
Solid from start to finish, Dan.
It really was. Wow, you kind of look for a little weakness in some of these guys, but you know, everybody is running so hard in the 200 meters. We saw some variance in that 400, and it's a long race, and it's all about conditioning, certainly. But here in the 200, some guys are really laying it down, and this is going to be a tough final to make.
Currently 21:51 is the last qualifying time, and we've got some running to go.
3 heats. And guess who? You know who's on the outside in this heat.
Mr. Showtime. He loves the indoor season. Darrell Haraway of Florida State. Started out his career fighting just some painful injuries. He had a hamstring issue his freshman year. He battled leg issues throughout his sophomore year. Injured his leg in the 60 meters of the NCAA indoors after he just flat out dominated the indoor meet in the ACCs at Notre Dame.
Well, and I know that was hard for him because he went into those NCAA championships as one of the favorites, and I was looking at results, and I thought, oh my gosh, what happened to this guy? And it was just this, mystery leg injury, and he wasn't able to perform at his best.
He was the ACC Indoor Co-MVP. He won both the 60 and the 200-meter titles. And if it wasn't for a female named Wembley, he probably would have got more press last year for what he did. Bain of Virginia Tech in the inside. Haraway's teammate Gay in lane 4. Zachary Zidell of Notre Dame. And it will be Haraway on the outside. Gay, look at move from the freshman, Terrell Gay. Flying on the inside. Here comes Virginia Tech's Jared Bain. But it's going to be Gay, followed by Bain. And that is not Darrell Haraway that we're used to seeing as he rounds out the 4-person heat.
Well, and we wondered why he wasn't running in the 60, and right underneath his tights on his right leg, you see he's got a pretty good tape job done on that right hamstring. But this is good running up front by the other Seminole.
Haraway gave a thumbs up to his coach afterward, meaning I think it didn't hurt any worse, but clearly, like you said, that is not Darrell Haraway at full strength.
No, and a guy who comes out here and runs a full 200 meters like that after being banged up, we don't know what the injury is. We'll see if we can confirm that for people tomorrow. But, when you give a thumbs up and you run and complete a 200, even half speed, that means he's probably nursing something, but he's trying to get something going for the outdoor season and running some first races after, quote, an injury.
He watches his young teammate shine. Gay with a 21.30. That's good enough right now to move on. He's in that number 6 spot. 2 more heats to go, and Dylan Peebles of North Carolina State will try to get his name into the top 8. Peebles is only a sophomore, came in with a fast 200-meter time, the fastest in the ACC at a 28.7. And again, we talked about it on the women's side with Pokratsky and Green, what they had as training partners. Here's a guy who's been training with Ravon Charleston the last couple of years, and these two just feeding off one another.
Well, and what I like about the young kid here is he's been to some big meets. USATF Junior Championship silver medalist, and you get some of these kids that have been to World Indoor Championships or under 20 games, things like that. You like the experience that they come into college with. And I think that might be the biggest difference between when I was going to school and what the kids are experiencing now. When you're young and you're good, you get international experience. You get exposure to some big meets. So when you get into college, it's not a big surprise to you.
Dylan Peebles, North Carolina State with the lead. Heat number 6 of 7 in the men's 200 prelims. Down the home stretch they come. It will be Peebles in the number 1 spot. Jones Roundtree of Pitt sitting second. 28.7. That's the new fastest time. Dylan Peebles of NC State supplanting Cordell Lamb. Lamb to the number 2 spot, but Peebles catching his breath with an impressive 200 meters today.
He looked really strong in that last 70 meters. Outstanding run.
Jones Rountree in now with the 6th fastest time at this point.
Yep.
So a strong heat overall behind Peebles.
And the lane number 6, Smith of North Carolina in the 7th and final heat of the men's 200-meter qualifier.
In the heat number 7, the final heat, the time to beat to get in is at 21.30.
And that marks from Darrell Gay, part of Florida State, who is one of those teams really trying to make sure they pick up every point they can along the way. It'd be big for them to let him into that final, depending on what happens right here.
And will it be a teammate that replaces him? Andre Ewers getting ready to go in this 200-meter dash prelim. Michael Davenport, the sophomore from Virginia Tech. Ewers, who is the talented junior college transfer. He's a finals qualifier in the 60. We saw earlier today, he's getting ready. And how will he respond here in the 200? Moved to the United States at the age of 12 from St. Elizabeth, Jamaica. Started out his high school standout career at Piper High. Talked about, went to South Plains, Texas Community College in 2015, then went to Butler last year. Florida State was able to land him in the offseason, and now trying to move forward, qualify for his second finals event.
His teammate out in 5, Trey Cunningham, set the world junior record for 60-meter hurdles as a high schooler. Had an injury and is now coming back into form, not only as a hurdler, but as a sprinter.
And we're off. Again, that time to beat, 21.30. On the outside, Dontavian Smith of UNC. The Tar Heel with the lead, but here comes the blazing speed of Ewers. Just sit back and watch and enjoy. Andre Ewers across the line, a 27.2. Oh, the sky's the limit with this high flyer. Andre Ewers with a 20.72 time.
Well, he looked like he was just feeling it out for the first 100 meters, and we saw him limping off after the 60 meters a little bit, but looked like he felt out that first 100. Looked like he felt good, and then he just blew by everybody.
And that puts him at equal number 8 in the country with that time.
Nice.
Could this be the 2018 version of Darrell Haraway that we're watching with Florida State? Andre Ewers.
Well, the interesting thing is, I had a chance to talk to Bob Brayman, and I said, hey, you came in here with a pretty solid team, and he says, we're going to be better outdoors. We're going to be better next year. He's like, wow. And he says, outdoors, we get some javelin throwers and some discus throwers. And, he just was really excited about the future. He said, we're going to do well here. Virginia Tech's going to be tough to beat, but we get better the farther along we get.
We'll take a break. Long jump competition underway. We have the endurance portion of the championship, the 5,000 on the way as well. We're having fun in Clemson. It's the 2018 Indoor Track and Field Championships. Good crowds gathering for the 2018 ACC Indoor Track and Field Championships. Miami, your defending champs on the women's side. Virginia Tech picking up the men's honor a season ago. What will this year provide? A lot of questions still need to be answered as we move into the final day of activities. Let's go back to the field and some of the field events. The men's long jump taking place this afternoon.
This is William Solomon from Georgia Tech. He's got a best jump of the day, 7:49, 24.7. But get this, your leader is Kenneth Fisher from Florida State, 7:79, 25.6. Corian Knight from Florida State second. Armani Wallace from Florida State third. And Jakub Andrzejek is in fourth place from Florida State as well. So for Solomon to move up, he needs to jump farther than 750 and put him in fifth position. But 1, 2, 3, 4 for the Seminoles in the men's long jump right now. Solomon with a foul. Looks like we got part of the Clemson ROTC program raking long jump pits there in their camouflage fatigues.
Florida State men entering this week, holding that number 6 spot. On the 3 teams ranked, Syracuse, Virginia Tech, all ranked. All 3 teams moving up in the rankings this past week. Virginia Tech on the women's side, the highest ranked ACC program at number 15. And Dan, that leads us into the conversation when you start comparing the ACC and watching it through the years at what they've been able to do as we go back to the long jump pit and measure how the ACC stands against some of the other conferences in the country.
Well, it's actually been kind of disappointing. We see some great results here at the ACC championships, both indoors and outdoors, and then the ACC doesn't really have a major factor in the team standings at the NCAA indoors or outdoors. Although there have been events. You know, Hannah Green was somebody who challenged for an NCAA title. Shakima Wembley, the Virginia Tech distance medley relay. There have been certainly some individuals and events, but we talk about, well, why is that, and what's the issue with that? Florida State, used to compete at a very high level, right along with the University of Florida. It's just a matter of battling those teams for those blue chip athletes around the country every year.
Here comes one of the big leapers for Florida State, Corian Knight.
All right, Armani Wallace passed his round 5 jump. Oh, excuse me. Corian Knight passed Armani Wallace on his 4th round, so he actually moved up. So we'll see Armani Wallace jump second to last, and then Kenneth Fisher will be the last jumper in the 5th round.
No improvement there for Knight, 762, 25 feet even.
Armani Wallace, the junior for the Seminoles, will be up next.
We'll see him tomorrow in the men's triple jump. He'd be the favorite, but this is where Florida State said they were going to be able to get some points. Those horizontal jumps, long jump, triple jump. And the triple jump goes late tomorrow afternoon, Sean. Around the time those 200-meter finals go, so there'll be a late charge by Florida State if they can sweep the triple jump. Oh, and that's a big jump, but it was a big foul too. Even from our vantage point.
Yep, no mistaking that one. No arguments. But wow.
Get a look at Armani just bearing down. Woof, he's a solid 5 inches over, and the official is standing right there. You wonder why there's so many officials out there, so nobody misses a thing. This wonderful facility here, raised runways. So we got Mondo on top of wooden runways. They're very flexible. People have talked about how fast these runways are, how much they've needed to adjust their step. And this is your leader, Kenneth Fisher. He's a senior this year. 7:79, 25.6 and 3/4. White flag goes up. Good looking jump by him. Directly goes over to the coach, gets a little instruction. And these are the fun events, guys. This isn't the 800 meters or the 5,000. These are the events that, you make a big effort, you go sit down and watch for a little while. Then you jump up, you cool down, and got to shake it out a little bit, make sure you're stretched and flexible. And you go to a track meet and you compete in this event, you sleep at night. You don't start thinking about your race at breakfast.
So, Dan, out of the many events that you had to train for to be the great decathlete that you were, what was your favorite? What did you really enjoy?
I really enjoyed the long jump. It was one of those events that I did in junior high school all the way through high school. I was a 26 foot long jumper, and it was one of the events that I felt that I was world class in. I could go to Texas relays, Modesto relays, Mount Sac relays, and compete alongside really good jumpers, guys like Mike Powell and Jumpin' Joe Green, people like that. I was a natural hurdler, enjoyed the hurdles. I worked hard to be a good 400-meter runner. I was an outstanding sprinter, and I managed to run 46.5, but I'll tell you what, I just didn't have a lot of love for that 1,500 meters.
I wasn't even going to bring that one up. Don't meet too many decathletes that do really, truly love it.
All right, we're in the 6th round here in the men's long jump. Final attempts for everybody. This is Marcus Jade. He's trying to move up from 7th position. 7:34 on the day, 24.1. He needs to jump farther than 7:49 to move up positions. But Louisville got some great points in the men's heptathlon, in the men's high jump, 1st and 3rd in the men's high jump, and a win by Joe Delgado in the heptathlon.
I mean, Dan, you just think about the possibilities and the jackpot of team points for Florida State in this event.
Yeah, you start adding them up, 10.865.
That might outscore some teams in this meet.
One of the most fun things about these field events, sometimes there's nothing else going on, and you can be right in the middle of the spotlight, get the crowd clapping behind you, really get your energy level up. And the long jump is really about intensity, bringing it down that runway, putting together your timing. Oh, and that was a good jump as I see the red flag fly. He was sure to move up on that jump. That was Colin Smith, a freshman from Pittsburgh. You see there's just a level of energy on these indoor horizontal jumps. These runways are bouncy, and if you're not a super speedy guy, the bouncy runways almost feel like it gives you a little bit more speed. And see, we're getting ready for the women's 5,000 meters. And here Chris McBride from Clemson. See if he can move up. This would be some nice points. He's the only guy now. Well, actually, there's 2 guys that stand in the way of a Seminole super sweep. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a super sweep, isn't it?
That is a super sweep. If Dan O'Brien says it's a super sweep, it is a super sweep.
I like that term.
I do too.
Yeah, that was not a great looking jump by McBride. Didn't look like he got much hip elevation. All right, and here's your 4th place Seminole. Sean, you want to try that last name? Andrejczyk. There we go. Jacob Andrejczyk has not competed much this year. Bob Brayman said he was hoping for some points out of him. Oh, over-rotated just a little bit, but it was not a foul. He's just a freshman. Some of these foreign kids come in at the break. They're not as fit as kids who've been there from the start of the year. And also, some of these foreign athletes come over from club programs, and they're really not used to these long, long seasons. 3 jumpers remaining. This is Corian Knight. He's in 2nd place. He took over 2nd position in the 4th round. 3 jumpers remaining. Corey Knight, Armani Wallace, and Kenneth Fisher.
Damn, real quickly, I misspoke. It's Andrachuk. He's looking at the wrong athlete, Jakub Andrachuk.
Okay.
For Florida State.
Hit the board pretty hard, just doesn't get great extension on that landing. He's really using just his speed and athletic ability to get out there. Once he figures out that landing.
Let's go back to the running now in the 5,000 meters. The women's 5,000. This is a finals event. The ACC championship set 2 years ago by Notre Dame's Molly Seidel. And now here we are in 2018. And David, break down this 5,000. We have some tremendous talented endurance runners going now.
25 laps are on this 200-meter oval, so we're going to be able to have plenty of time to talk about these great athletes. We want to get up to the long jump again as we finish that competition.
2 jumpers remaining here. Armani Wallace, one of the favorites in the men's triple jump tomorrow. He's secured a 3rd place position, but he would love to move up. Right here. Not getting a lot of support from this Clemson crowd. Had a big jump on his 5th round, and it was called a foul. And that looked pretty good. White flag goes up. Doesn't like it. And here's your leader, Kenneth Fisher. Certainly wasn't the favorite coming in today. Corey Knight, he was your favorite, over 8 meters. But Kenneth Fisher produced a big jump in the 3rd round. 7:79, 25.6 3/4. He would love to improve on that. Good push out of the back. Oh, great speed too. And you can see he just exerted more effort for sure. He wanted a big one. He came down the runway faster. He tried a little bit harder. And that effort level just pushed him over the board. But good competition. Kenneth Fisher will be your winner. 1, 2, 3, 4 for the Florida State Seminoles.
And we'll set the field for you a little bit here in a second. But just in general, this 5K for the women, led by ACC champion and NCAA All-American in cross country, Paige Stoner of Syracuse. She's the favorite. She comes in ranked number 9 on the NCAA list. She was the first woman for Syracuse University to win the ACC championship in cross country. The closest seed after her, Florida State's Milica Marcheva, who competed in the Rio Olympic Marathon for her home nation of Bulgaria. And Stoner's scheduled to come back in the 3K tomorrow. So we'll be interested to see, Sean, if she just tries to run it a little more conservatively today, because the field is tougher in comparison to her tomorrow at 3,000 meters.
That's what a super sweep looks like.
The tomahawk chop.
The chop is happening for Florida State. Look at the team points. Fisher, Knight, Wallace. Plus you get Andrachuk in there in the number 4 spot for the Seminoles, and Florida State all smiles. Let's go to the track. The 5,000 underway. Pitt with the early lead. That's Jillian Schriever, the junior for the Panthers.
Second team All-American at 10K, and she was 3rd in the outdoor ACC 5K. So an experienced runner out there setting the pace right now. Usually most people don't really want to do that, but somebody's got to do it.
Keep an eye on Louisville in this race as well. You see her moving into the front spot, Dorcas Wasike. Wasike is only a freshman. She had a time of 16:17.79 in this event, and it will be Wasike now taking the front lead. And David, North Carolina with a couple of talented runners as well. You have Caroline Alcorta in that number 2 spot for the Tar Heels, and don't be surprised before it's all said and done if Morgan Ilsey works her way in as well.
They definitely are in the mix for this. They should not be counted out. El Corda was on the distance medley relay last night, and we'll see as we continue this race what it shapes up to be, and we'll be right back with you in just a few moments.
Welcome back inside the Clemson Indoor Track and Field facility. The women's 5,000, 15 laps to go. And David Mitchell, not much of a change. We are starting to see a push from Syracuse with Shannon Malone into that number 2 spot.
Malone has moved her way up. Right now it's the freshman from Georgia Tech, Nicole Fegans, that has been leading the way. Dorcas Wasike that we had mentioned, the runner-up in the ACC cross country behind Paige Stoner, our favorite. She is tucked in there on the inside as well. Right now, almost everybody is still in this competition. So we've got a ways to go. We're about 2K in.
Shannon Malone making her move, the senior from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Did not run the indoor season a year ago, just the outdoor. She took 4th at the ACC championships into 10,000. Her 3rd year with Syracuse, the transfer from Virginia.
She was 7th overall at the ACC cross country meet, so definitely stacks up well compared to the rest of the conference.
Another athlete that has slid into the top 5 for the first time is a familiar one for ACC distance fans, and that's North Carolina State's Erica Kemp. Kemp right now sliding into that number 5 spot, but you talk about a veteran and a decorated runner who has logged a lot of miles in her years at Raleigh.
Kemp has just been part of that incredibly strong program there at NC State, and has not shown herself to be a favorite in any of the events today, but she can never be counted out.
Some of the bigger names starting their way into the picture. For the first time, we see Paige Stoner, and you talked about her and her impressive resume coming into this race. A lot of drama to unfold, a lot of race still to go. 12 laps remaining. Malone of Syracuse with the lead as they... Welcome back to Clemson. We are into the final 2 running events of day 2 of the 2018 ACC Indoor Track and Field Championships. Since we last left, Paige Stoner, who broke the Syracuse women's 5K record this year, obliterated the old mark by over 16 seconds. She grabbed the lead for a couple of laps, but David Mitchell, it's been the Louisville freshman, Dorcas Wasike, who's just kind of been hovering around that top 3, and now it's Wasike to the front.
Wasike has just looked like she's full of run. She's ready to go up there. She's leading right now the favorite Stoner and El Corda and the inimitable Erica Kemp of NC State, along with the Olympic marathoner Mercheva. That's our group of 5 up in front. As they come around, they're going to have 7 laps to go. See Logan Morris trying to get into that lead pack as well for Clemson.
Seven laps to go in the women's 5,000 final.
9 runners in that lead pack, with Logan Morris now joining the pack from behind, and a 10th runner about. Wasike has taken the lead, but she has slowed the pace. Over 40 seconds on that last lap.
Hey guys, and one of the things I had a chance to look at, I just landed on a page earlier this week, and it was the top ACC athletes who have not qualified for the NCAA meet, and it goes down the list of some of the big names, and Erica Kemp's name is on that list on the women's side. She ran 15:41 last year in the 5K, but she doesn't have an NCAA qualifier.
Right, so this race, there are multiple goals going on. There are some people who are just trying to finish their season strong. There are some people who are there strictly for the place, but there are certainly others who need that time, who are capable of competing on that national level.
6 laps remaining in the 5,000. Kemp of North Carolina State in the 3 spot. Shannon Malone of Syracuse trying to maneuver her way on the outside into that number 4 and 5 hole as everybody continues to try to shadow Wasike for Louisville.
Wasike showing courage to go up there, and El Corda certainly running strong as well inside of her. Stoner has just pretty much been running the rail throughout the race. And Logan Morris for Clemson, she was number 2 on Team USA at the World Junior Cross Country Championships in Uganda, and she is up there now looking like she is ready to make a difference in this race.
Alcorta for North Carolina and Morgan Ilsey, the 2 Tar Heels, they had quite a weekend at the Music City Challenge. In fact, it was Ilsey for the Tar Heels who broke the North Carolina indoor 5,000 meter record at that challenge. Guess who the pace setter was? Her teammate Alcorta.
And here goes Stoner to the lead, maybe with a decisive move. Mercheva, the Bulgarian Olympian at the marathon, quickly responds to that move.
Take us through these final 4 laps as they begin to get strategy and when to put that kick, when to move into the lead, when you're going to follow and play the shadow roll.
A lot of times it's going to depend, number one, on how they feel at that moment, but also they're responding to their competition as well. Some of them know that they need to go earlier than others because they don't have that last straightaway sprint. Right now, Mercheva is really pushing the pace and making Stoner do the work. They're going to be running past Grace Barnett. Wasike came to the inside.
So you're going to start to see some congestion as some runners start to get lapped. Wasike with the lead. Mercheva, Florida State 2. Stoner of Syracuse sitting in that 3 spot. Kemp and Alcorta both well within striking distance.
And we have to ask ourselves now, did Stoner wait too long? She's clearly the favorite. She had a dominant time coming in, but she might be in with some people who can outkick her with only 400 meters to go.
2 laps to go. Wasike, the freshman, with the lead. Mercheva coming off the outside. Stoner trying to keep up as well, sitting 3rd.
Stoner
Those
looks
three
like
starting to get some separation.
Stoner's at full speed, and she's not getting by them. The other 2 seem to be able to turn over more quickly, and certainly no lack of strength from anybody in that race.
We could be in for a fun finish in the 5,000. Will Wasike have enough in the tank? Mercheva, Florida State 2. Stoner of Syracuse sitting deep at 3rd.
Mercheva, the Bulgarian national champ for the indoor 3K, outdoor 10K, outdoor 5K, and the 3K steeplechase, along with being an Olympian for them in the marathon. She can do it all, but can the freshman get away from her right now? Stoner is out of the picture.
Wasike trying to open up some ground. Down the home stretch they come, and look at the kick by the Louisville freshman.
Dorcas Wasike.
Your 5,000 meter champion, Mercheva 2nd, Stoner of Syracuse 3rd.
Wasike is looking to start a legacy here in the ACC. 2nd in her first championship in cross country, now winning this 5,000. She's got a long career ahead of her and a very bright future.
16:34.03, your ACC championship time. Remember that name for Louisville. She's just getting started. What an introductory party here in Clemson today. An ACC title, 16:34.03. Mercheva finishes 2nd. Paige Stoner of Syracuse, a 3rd place finish at 16:37.
And she had run 15:44. So she was one who tried to calculate. We talked about it a little bit before the race. Could she save enough energy based on how much better she could be in this group to come back and run strong in the 3K? She miscalculated the ability of the other girls and wasn't able to turn over quickly enough. She looked like she still had the strength. She just isn't a speed runner. And the other 2 were able to get in before her here in this race.
Earlier today, just a few moments ago, Florida State with an impressive showing in the men's long jump. We talked about teams looking to knock off Virginia Tech from the throne. Certainly the showing by the Seminoles in the long jump could go a long way come late tomorrow.
Absolutely. Well, the Florida State Seminoles absolutely dominated the long jump. This is Jakub Ondrachak. He was your 4th place finisher, 7:59.24.9. This is Armani Wallace. He was your 3rd place finisher, 7:57.24.10. Here was your favorite coming in today, 775 for Corey and Knight, 25.5 and a quarter. But your winner is Kenneth Fisher, 779, 25.6 and 3/4, but total domination by the Seminoles. And that's you just don't put 3 people up there. They put 4 people, and the coach even came up onto that podium. And there's your official final results, and Hannah Yates has all 4 of them down trackside right now.
I'm trackside with the 4th place, 3rd place, 2nd place, and 1st place winners in the men's long jump event. There's a common theme here. They're all athletes from Florida State University. Jakob, let's start with you. You're the 4th place in the men's long jump, final jump of 7 meters 54.
Yes, my name is Jakub Andrzejczak. I'm freshman this year, and I'm very proud of these guys. We did a good job.
My name is Armani Wallace. I'm a junior. 7:57, so I think I tied my all-time PR, so that's good. We're struggling in the beginning of the season just to get on the board, but I feel like we have the best training group in the country. Every day we go at it with each other.
That's your best number 1, right? Should be for long jump, but my name is Corian Knight. I also go by Zeus. I'm a transfer senior from Florida Memorial University, and I'm super proud that it's my first real indoor season, and I did a little damage.
My name is Kenneth Fisher Jr. You can follow me on Instagram. I'm a grad student here at Florida State, 4th year senior here on the track and field. I'm just proud to get the number 1.
Gentlemen, how special was it for your group, as a group, to place in this order?
It was so big. Like, every day is competition at practice. You don't know how hard we work. Every day is, no, you ain't finna slack. You're not finna slack. So to come out here and get 1, 2, 3, 4 means so much to me.
Honestly, it was all planned. He's the 8-meter jumper. Like, we're all capable of jumping 8 meters consistently. We just had to come out here and show it. Like, it was planned. We knew we were gonna sweep it. So it was easy.
Corey and Kenneth, you are both of the seniors on the team. You're telling me you're both transfers heading into this year, so you had some time to bond. How much and how special was that for you in this event?
Super big. I mean, we both transfer and come from similar backgrounds. He went to school down south at Florida Memorial. I went to Bethune-Cookman, so it was kind of the same HBCU vibe. So the bond it connected instantly with the whole jump group overall.
Fisher, he's like my big brother right now. Like, he's a fraternity member that I'd hope to join one day, but also he took me under his wing, told me everything I need to know for this year, and he's helping me get into grad school, all of the further than track, like everything. It's really a blessing to have my teammate.
Congratulations. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Well, giving up the glitter of the beach life at Daytona Beach for Bethune-Cookman. He exchanges that for an ACC championship. Well done. It is the final event of day 2 here in Clemson, South Carolina. The men's 5,000 as they get into position. 2018 ACC Indoor Track and Field Championships. It's been great to have you with us today. Olympic gold medalist Dan O'Brien, David Mitchell with our distance events. Hannah Yates doing a great job down on the field. If you have fun today, just wait until tomorrow. Championship Saturday. Who will be this year's ACC Elite? Less than 24 hours away from finding out. We don't have to wait too long, though, David, for the men's 5,000. It's about to go. And the remarkable story of Justin Knight. Can he continue to add to his growing legacy, looking for his 9th ACC title?
Lightning is going to strike maybe for the 9th time here for Justin. He is the NCAA champion in cross country, and then has just had a terrific indoor season. He comes in with the nearly 20-second advantage on the second competitor. The University of Virginia really looking to put in a lot of points here. They've got 4 of the top 6 seeds. So even though Knight is kind of the story up front, Virginia really might be the highest scoring team in this group.
And David, I liked what you said. You said Virginia's going to load up in the 5K, Syracuse is going to load up in the 3, and Virginia Tech looks like they're going to load up in the mile. So we'll see a lot of point swings as these events happen.
That's right. That seems to be where their strengths lie with their training groups and their performers. And Justin Knight we have certainly had plenty to say about. He has done amazing things, and he settles his way into second place right away.
Knight set the world's fastest time in this event at the Iowa State Classic in Ames, 13:59.59. His mile time ranking 8th in the world. His 3,000 meter time 24th in the world. And he did all that in a 3-week time frame. This guy is amazing.
He really has by far the best speed. So unlike his teammate Stoner that we were looking at, he is able to have that quick strike capability. If he's back in the pack, he can close down on somebody in a hurry because he's a 3:56 miler.
Right now, the early leader is Solomon of Georgia Tech, the junior. He had a huge cross-country year a season ago, becoming the first Tech All-American in cross-country last year when he posted the fastest time by a jacket at the NCAA championships.
I was going to say, David, and he's not alone out there either. You know, he's just not the lone orangeman in a group. He's got some teammates. He can bring them up. They can run together. He can even use them to block just a little bit, you know, or rabbit. So it's nice to see, you know, six orange jerseys out there with him.
And one of those guys up front with him is Aiden Tooker, the sophomore. He's a good steeplechase runner. In fact, a returning All-American in the outdoor season in the 3,000-meter steeplechase. He's in that 4 spot right behind Knight. Solomon still with the lead. And as David talked about, 4 strong Virginia Cavaliers. And Brent Demaris might be the strongest of that quartet.
Brent has had a fine career himself. He's a cross-country All-American, cross-country silver medalist behind Knight in the ACC. And he was 3rd in the outdoor track 10K, and he's also placed 5th in the 5K indoors and out last year. He's looking to get some hardware, not to finish 5th this time around after 5th each indoors and outdoors last year. He's sitting in 2nd. Tooker ran at the legendary program at Sarasota Springs in New York, and had an outstanding career himself in high school, and then has continued on with that. Didn't go very far from home to go to Syracuse, and is just continuing on as a strong performer for them, as you mentioned, especially in the steeplechase in the early going. But I think we're going to see him getting all ACC honors over and over again.
As we continue to watch Solomon lead the pack, here's a guy who has been an established cross-country runner in his years at Georgia Tech. He's led the Jackets in every meet that he's competed in over his last 2 years. How does success in cross-country relate to success when you move it to the indoor track scene? Or sometimes, as we've seen, just because you're a successful cross-country runner doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be an elite indoor distance runner.
That's true. And in Solomon's case, one thing that occurs to me up in front is he may want to get out in front because he likes to get his unleash that long stride. He doesn't want to be caught up where he's going to have to change pace back and forth in the box. But generally speaking, a cross-country runner, a cross-country specialist gets to continue at the same kind of training. They don't really need to mix up their training through the year. They're mostly aerobic training. He can come in here for this longer run and 10K outdoors on the track and be very comfortable in his zone that he's been able to do. So good to see him out front.
Early stages of the men's 5,000. Solomon the early lead. Demaris second. Justin Knight striking distance in that 3-hole for the Orange.
It is so important to communicate. We have teamwork on the track right here. Justin Knight, the all Mr. Everything, talking to his teammate, Aiden Tooker, helping him stay back and not go for the early fast pace. And now we see Knight moving up moments ago. He's going to get himself into second place as Solomon continues to push the pace. Knight very much in control. Tooker has come along with him. Now they are second and third. It's Peter Seufer of Virginia Tech, second team All-American in the outdoor 5K, finishing ninth, and the ACC champion at 10K, and a first team All-American in cross country, finishing seventh there. So he is for real also. He is now in fourth. So Solomon and Knight and Tooker and Seufer, and then 2 more for the Orange. Philo Germano is currently in fifth have to pick up the runner in 6th. So many of them out there, it's a little hard to know right away. Germano actually is 6th. We'll see who's in 5th.
Solomon has held the lead for the last 11 laps. When does Knight make his move?
It is Iwani in there, tucked into 5th, the Italian runner, and we'll get to your question in a second. He was 4th in this race last year. Came back into cross country after a 6-month recovery from a stress fracture and training on the Ultra G treadmill. He's only run 2 races indoors. He's hanging in 5th right now behind Seufer. So we can see him. Knight probably will not need to make his move until he really needs to make his move. There's no point in him going now with 10 laps to go. He can relax and stay in there. The only reason he'd go is if he needed to get out of traffic.
And Sean, you see him continually glance to the right on that back straight over there. His coaches are over there. That's where they're giving him the splits. And you see when he glances over there, he glances to the right. He hears the time. When we saw him make that pass, he did glance to the right, communicate with his coach, and went around and moved into 2nd position. But that's where he's getting his information.
I would not want to be Solomon when that red light turns green from his coach.
That's a fact, yeah. And Solomon, I think, probably realizes, like most, that Justin Knight is not his problem. Getting away from everybody else is his problem. And right now, Seufer has come up, the cross-country All-American, and he is right in the mix now, right on Knight's heels. Then it's the 3 from Syracuse behind. Again, big points possible here for Syracuse with 3 out of that top 6. Now it's Germano taking the lead of that 2nd pack, going ahead of Tucker and Iwani.
Mentioned Seufer in that 3 spot for Virginia Tech. He was the Music City Challenge 5,000 meter title winner this year. He's a returning 2nd team All-American in this event, placing 9th. So he's not going to go anywhere, settling into that 3 spot.
When we talk a little bit coming out, it's like, hey, Virginia's really putting a lot into this 5K. They're the ones that want to load up on the points. But you see the group of 6 up front, 4 of them are orange.
Syracuse really coming through here, and part of that is the leadership. They don't have to think. They're going to follow Justin until they can't follow him anymore. And he was hanging back enough so that they could. So Justin Knight, if it's possible, is going to score more points than one person can score by the way he leads his teammates.
Solomon continues to lead. Justin Knight sitting 2nd, Seufer 3rd, Germano, and then Iwani for Syracuse. An orange field to the men's 5,000.
Yeah, Tucker is starting to drop off the pace, so now it's a front group of 5. And Seufer, for me, he came out very conservatively. He's moved up. He hasn't had any stress in his run. He's someone to really keep our eyes on. And Virginia Tech in the team hunt, it's huge for him.
So he would be the greatest threat right now tonight if there was one among these 5 leading the pack.
Yes, I totally believe that. I think Solomon is doing a great job, and he's running his race plan. I don't think he's going to successfully get away from Knight. I don't think he's going to successfully get away from Seufer. Everybody else, he still has a shot, maybe, depending on what he can do about pushing the pace in these next few laps. But he seems to be slowing down a little bit. His legs are getting a little bit heavy from doing all the work. And you can see the laboring on his face.
5 laps to go before we crown an ACC champion in the men's 5,000. Will it be a familiar name in Justin Knight of Syracuse, one of the top runners in the country? Solomon has been the leader from the get-go. Movement late from Seufer, who looks fresh and solid. And then the 2 orange behind with Germano and Aunai.
Knight has been running against professionals, so he's gained a level of experience at the World Championships outdoors, and then running in New York a couple of weeks ago and flying through that 3,000. He really has an edge beyond what any of these other runners have.
Well, and not just professionals. We were talking some of the best runners in the world. Guys like Mo Farah, Bernard Lagat, people that are absolutely the best at strategizing, and some of the best kickers.
And he talks about in the race at the World Championships, I read an article, and he was in the same heat as Mo. And he said, I don't want to just go up and fanboy him. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to shake his hand and walk away. And then he came right up and said, I've been such a fan of yours for so long. And he totally did what he didn't want to do.
Germano into the lead. This is not expected by maybe anybody but the Syracuse team, and he is running great. Philo Germano, he was a 3-time ACC scorer, including second in the 10K last May and an NCAA Division I national qualifier at 10K.
And just as Germano made his move, Knight turned it on a couple of notches. And now let's just sit back and watch one of the country's best work his craft. Justin Knight says it's go time. Germano in the number 2 spot. Soifer of Virginia Tech sitting 3rd. Solomon has fallen back to 4th.
In Ayoani, we saw struggling a little bit with his overall fitness. He wasn't able to run and train after 6 months off with that stress fracture. It'll be a fairly miraculous accomplishment for him to be in the scoring.
Germano is really running tough, hanging. Putting it on Soifer right now. He's really running tough.
He looks like he's going to run away for second. Unlikely that he would be able to catch Knight, but I think if he got close to Knight, yeah, Knight is checking it out. He's looking back. He's making sure he's just still running comfortably, but comfortably fast, as only the great ones like Justin Knight can do. He's trying to cheer on Germano right now. Come on, come with me. Come on, he says. Waves his hand to his teammate.
It's a Syracuse 1-2 finish in the 5,000.
Soifer for 3rd. Nahum Solomon for 4th. A bold race for Solomon to get that position.
Solomon collapses in exhaustion. The first guy over to help him is Justin Knight.
We had an evidence there, just an example of terrific running, terrific leadership on his team. We'll take a look at that finish now as Knight is imploring his teammate, Philo Germano, to come on with him and make sure he gets in that top 2. So he's coming around the curve now. He's been taking a peek back. He's going to take more looks back. Now he's talking to him. Come on, let's go. And the big smile because he knows he's got it and he knows his teammate is with him too. And my guess is, from what we know about Justin Knight, he's probably just as happy that his teammate got second as he is that he got first.
13:50, 7:9, your ACC championship time. Solomon getting some fluids in him. He led the way for a good chunk, was the pace setter. But in the end, it's a familiar name back atop the ACC championships. His 9th ACC title, Justin Knight, and the junior from Syracuse rolls in the men's 5,000. We'll preview tomorrow's championship Saturday. Some closing thoughts from Clemson right after this. The crowds are starting to exit the Clemson Indoor Track and Field Complex, but they will be back tomorrow. Championship Saturday, day 2 in the books from the 2018 ACC Indoor Track and Field Championships. Sean Kinney alongside Dan O'Brien, David Mitchell, and boy, today was fun. Tomorrow can't get here soon enough. A lot of great times today. We had some unique performances, some disappointing times early, but then it seemed like the athletes kicked it into high gear. And when you look back at today, Dan, what stands out to you?
Well, today I think the field events really dominated the action because that put money in the bank for a lot of people. Florida State, they go the super sweep in the long jump. We saw a couple of great Louisville Cardinals in the high jump, and in the women's pole vault, a couple of Virginia Tech jumpers just putting points in the bank. As far as the running goes, impressive freshman. Andre Ewers comes as advertised. One of the events I'm looking forward to tomorrow is seeing what Clemson can do in this men's 400 in front of this home crowd. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, Ewers qualifies for the finals in the 60 and the 200, so he does not disappoint in his first ACC championship. David, let's look at the distance races, starting with the women. And Rachel Prokratsky of Virginia Tech, after the DMR performance yesterday, she looks the part to claim that 800 title tomorrow.
She led the way all the way through, had herself under complete control in that 800 qualifying. Basically, we had qualifying for the mile, the 800 today, and the right people got through to set things up on both genders for some outstanding finals tomorrow. But really, in terms of the distance races, the story, the money in the bank that Dan referred to for the field events was Syracuse in the 5K for the men.
Justin Knight, every time he's on the track, it's memorable. And for good reasons, and he made that one a very special performance right there.
Yeah, most guys exhausted at the end of the race. He's smiling, he's running around, he's encouraging his teammates during the race in that bell lap to keep up with them. I mean, you talk about a professional in every sense of the word and a true leader for that orange.
That's right. He's just a junior, as you pointed out before. I mean, he's got so much experience, but he's got so much going on for him. From a fan standpoint, again, it would be nice if he finishes out at Syracuse all the way through his 4 years.
All right, Dan, so let's talk championship Saturday tomorrow and think big picture with the teams. Virginia Tech, Florida State, the two favorites probably on paper coming in. The Seminoles with that huge field event day as expected. How's this thing shape up when the dust settles?
Well, Virginia Tech could very well super sweep the pole vault. You got Florida State athletes in the triple jump. Triple jump goes late in the afternoon, so they're going to get a bunch of points. 200 meters is going to be big. It's like short speed versus middle distance speed. Virginia Tech versus Florida State, and there's no telling till the guy crosses the finish line at 4x4. And how many times have we seen this thing come down to the 4x4? And on the women's side, there's points all over the place out there. We got Duke coming through in some different areas. You got Louisville. There's no telling. I think Virginia Tech got off to a great start today, but they're going to have their hands full tomorrow.
And on the women's side tomorrow, especially in the distance, we did not see some stars today, but we will tomorrow, in particular for North Carolina State with Ellie Hennis.
Ellie Hennis, one of the top-ranked runners at 3K and 5K in the country, especially strong at 3K coming back there. Actually, best performance so far at 5K, coming back in the 3K, trying to get that national qualifier mark. She has the potential to dominate that race. But the thing is about that 3K tomorrow, it's loaded. I mean, right now, everybody added their best people because many of them might scratch depending on team scores and how they've fared earlier in the day on the mile, but there are tons of stars in there. So Ellie's going to be fresh, but she won't be alone.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's take a look at the updated team standings on the men's side. This is after 6 events. Florida State with the lead. They have an 8-point edge over the Cardinals. North Carolina State sitting third. You see Syracuse catapult into that number 4 spot following the 5,000. And then Virginia Tech, never count out the Hokies. They're anticipating a big Saturday. They sit in that number 5 spot. Over on the women's side, we'll be back as you take a look at the conference standings and championship standings on the women's side. And it's going to be intriguing to see how it unfolds. You have a lot of teams coming in that felt they had a chance to get that championship. Miami is the 2-time defending champs. We all 3 felt it was going to be a challenge for the Hurricanes to defend that title. And Louisville has been the team so far through the first 2 days to emerge.
Well, they got good points in the women's pentathlon to start off, and we've just kind of seen them around the track. You look at Virginia Tech; they get good points in the women's pole vault. We'll see them in all of the running events tomorrow. North Carolina's really doing well. Look at Nicole Green. The women's high jump is still going on. Nicole Green should win that. Add another 10 points to them, and they had some really good runs today as well.
In Louisville, they're getting that 10 points from Dorcas Wasike. Not expected to be a win for her. That was tremendous. Big finish to the day for them.
All right, the storylines are set. Championship Saturday tomorrow. It's the 3rd and final day of the 2018 ACC Indoor Track and Field Championships. So for Dan O'Brien, David Mitchell, Hannah Yates, I'm Sean Kinney saying so long from the Tigers Indoor Track and Field Complex. We're after the first and second days. It's Florida State on the men, Louisville on the women's. They're your team leaders. To watch this on replay as well as other track and field events on our family of ESPN networks, log on to watchespn.com. Download the Watch ESPN app. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Good night from Clemson. We'll see you tomorrow for the finale of the ACC Championships.